Friday, May 2nd, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. No Greg today. We will be running solo the entire day, but a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. Some college football we're going to get to with Andy Staples at 7:30 this morning. And Dick Girardi going to join us at 9 o'clock to talk Kentucky Derby. He'll give you all of the wagers, all of the things, all the names that you need, even though we came up with some classic ones yesterday, of what you need to know for the Kentucky Derby. I personally, not really into it anymore, but I know a lot of people are, so we will have that conversation and try to help you with what square you want to be on when you go to your friend's Kentucky Derby party, having no knowledge of what's actually going to take place. See if we can help you with that. We did mention the last couple of days, mainly spent time on it yesterday. Greg McElroy's top 10 quarterbacks returning to college football this fall list. Went through it. He gave you his reasons. He gave you a couple of different options as to why somebody would be higher, lower. And I thought it was interesting to continue that conversation in a little bit of a different way. What quarterbacks are going to be on this list that are not on that list now? And if you missed it, if you weren't here when we went through it, we can give you a couple of different ways to look at it, and we'll run through it for you and give you who he had on his list. There's a couple names that I think people obviously look at right off the bat and say, how did you not have that quarterback on there? Or why did you have that quarterback there? I thought some of the questions were fair, but I also realized some people haven't looked at some of these quarterbacks in a way that Greg has. He had Cade Klubnik Clemson number one. I have no issue with that. I think that's probably would be my number one as well. John Mateer number two, who's transferring to Oklahoma from Washington State. If you've watched him, I don't think you'd really debate it. Sam Levitt at three, out of Arizona State, which I think a lot of people probably question, but I really don't think it should be. Drew Aller at four, Garrett Nussmeier 5, Carson Beck at 6, Lenora Sellers at 7, Sawyer Robertson Baylor at 8, DJ Lagway at 9, Haynes King at 10. Arch Manning, the obvious name that a lot of people wanted to go to. And I don't know if a lot of people go to that just because of the recruiting prowess or the name or the hype, but there hasn't, I understand he's played a little bit, but it hasn't necessarily just been lights out O'Reilly when he's taken the field, and everything that you've seen from him has just screamed, oh, this kid's got to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in college football next year. Like some of the people that I saw responding to the people that stole Greg's top 10 list and made graphics out of it and then quoting it for themselves to try to help their company get more clicks, they would give you no reasons as to why Arch Manning should be there. Like, I'm fine with somebody saying Arch Manning should be in the top 10, but what's the reason he should be there? I mean, John, can you offer me up a reason that Arch Manning should definitively be a top 10 quarterback returning to college football this fall? Outside of his name.
The talent that's around them and the assumed production of what they're going to do.
That actually would be one of the more intelligent, I think, debates as to how you were going to look at it. Arch Manning went 61 of 90 last year, 939 yards. He completed 67% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, had a couple rushing yards. But it wasn't necessarily just torching it. I mean, I think the kid's got some talent. I think he's got a chance to be great. He put up 258 against La Monroe, 325 against Mississippi State, 223 against UTSA, 95 against Colorado State. That leaves 19 against Georgia and 19 against Florida. I don't know if you just look at what he did actually in games and say, no, he's in there. He's got to be there. I mean, 4 touchdowns against UTSA, 2 against Monroe. Also 2 picks against Monroe. So he threw two touchdowns against Mississippi State. There was only 2 in conference play. I'm not saying that the kid is not good. I'm not saying he's not going to be great. But just to definitively say he is a top 10 quarterback returning in college football next fall, I don't think you can just lean on what he's already done. There have to be a couple of other things. So who are the other names that we think could sneak onto this list? We can worry about who will get bumped off later. Maybe later this show, maybe another show. We can talk about it at a different time. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted Andy Staples to join us today, not just to discuss this, but he has his post-spring top 25 out. Why did it change? Why is it different? Why do we look at some teams in a little bit of a different way than we did before? Because the portal, although I'd say it was kind to a couple of teams, I didn't look at the portal and say anybody really changed who they are. I think Oklahoma, the team that probably changed more than anybody else in the portal during the spring with what they added. But I didn't look at too many other teams that I thought were a fringe top 10 team, and now they're definitively a top 10 team because of what they did in the portal. And this, I don't have that. So quarterbacks you think will be in, let's just say Greg's top 10 at the end of the season. Or if we had a collective top 10 quarterback list at the end of the season, who's going to be on that list that's not on there now? 800-239-9569. You can get in, give us yours. 800-239-WJOX. Text into the show 205-834-9450. You can also tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Is there one that definitively sticks out? Are there two or three? Are there some that are a little bit of a stretch? Because I think there are some names that some people look at and say, oh yeah, that's definitely going to be one that's going to be there. Definitely going to be a guy that I think has to be on that list. Now, I don't know if there are a couple of clear-cut decisions that I would say I got to have them on there, or I'm definitively going to put that player on there. But there are a couple that I look at and say, I could see it. I mean, Arch Manning, of course, is going to be one towards the top of the discussion. Like you said, John, the offense he's going to play in. And if there's anything that I think is going to be maybe a little bit less for Texas this year, it's probably going to be up front. I mean, you had 3 offensive linemen get drafted, 1 sign an undrafted free agent deal. You had a tight end get drafted. The protection and the physicality, the ability to just push and maybe run the ball might not be as good as it was last year. Now, Sark can circumvent that and work around that, so I don't think it's, all of a sudden the offense isn't going to be good. They can maneuver it. They can handle it. But it's just something to watch. I think the skill is not going to be far off than what it was this year. And even though they had a couple of guys drafted, they'll be fine there. It's not going to be something that's a massive concern. But there are names that people aren't just going to think of off the top of their head, like a Josh Hoover at TCU who threw for over 3,000 yards last year. He actually threw for 3,900 yards last year. 27 touchdowns. Nobody's going to throw him in there. Chandler Morris is transferring, but he's put up good numbers. Maybe he's the guy that fits in there. Maybe he's the guy that looked. I mean, I think Carson Beck was one of the more questionable names on Greg's list just because of how things went late in the year. Now, he ended on an injury, and so, of course, I think that's always going to leave us with a little bit of a bad taste in our mouths as to, all right, what's he really going to turn into? We don't know. People really think Joey Aguilar is going to go light it up in Knoxville. I don't think he's that guy. The offense will lean towards him being able to put up good numbers. We can't deny that. I don't think anybody looks at that and says, oh, that's going to be one that definitely is going to be there. Fernando Mendoza's transferring from Cal. I mean, he's one that has the ability to potentially be there. There was one name that was not on Greg's list that I thought, I'm not going to say was egregious, but that I thought definitively should be there. And it was not Arch Manning. It was not Arch Manning. But one name that I feel like if you go back and take what Greg's formula was, all right, you have to be proven, you have to have done it, you have to have played. That's got to be a big part of why you're there, should have been on his list. And that name for me is one that I feel like because of where he plays, not a ton of people know. And similar to some of the other guys we talked about yesterday, maybe not a ton of people have seen it. It was Rocco Becht at Iowa State. I think size, I think got good mobility. Now, is the offense going to allow him to put up 4,000 yards? Probably not. But Rocco Becht completed 60% of his passes, threw for 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns last year, just 9 picks. And having them in the bowl game maybe helped me with that a little bit. Talking to Matt Campbell about him, and Matt essentially just discussing how as the season went on, he gained more control of the offense. He has carte blanche at the line of scrimmage to be able to do what he wants. He can sort of handle things there. He does a lot of different things. Could we see the resurrection of a Malik Murphy at Oregon State? Which I do think it's now real that he's actually enrolled in school there and going to try to play football. What if a Mikey Keene is actually the guy at Michigan and he gets that offensive line, that run game, those weapons to be able to operate with? I mean, he threw for 2,800 yards at Fresno last year. I'm not saying I definitively think he's going to be there, but could be one that we maybe need to be talking about. Gio Lopez from South Alabama put up good numbers. He's going to North Carolina. Do we have any idea what that's going to look like? Like a single solitary idea what UNC is going to look like this year? I can't even give you a hunch. And I'll ask the question we asked yesterday because more things are happening. Do we need to have the conversation about Bill Belichick today?
We were close yesterday, but then horses, of all things, distracted us.
We actually ran out of time yesterday on our man versus gorilla discussion. And one thing that I think potentially we need to do later in the show is actually replay the call from the man in San Antonio who only listens to us because we're the only radio show allowed past his school's firewall and he's a principal at the school. I still appreciate you tuning in. I guess I'll take being the only option as a win. I mean, sometimes you watch action, right? It's the only game on in town.
He could choose silence.
Fair.
And he chooses us.
Or a podcast on his phone. Or maybe I don't need to give him ideas.
Wait, you can do what?
I told you guys, riding around San Antonio this weekend, I always look for the local sports stations, and I landed on a station that said talk. I didn't know. I was waiting through the commercials to see what it was. And then this is after I was stuck in San Antonio and had to re-rent a car, in which almost wasn't able to get that because they told me I had an outstanding balance, in which I don't pay for my rental car. So how I had an outstanding balance and wasn't able to get a car was a whole different conversation that lasted over 30 minutes. The 7 people behind me in line trying to check out were thrilled with that. And I landed on a station that just aired long-form podcasts. It was like a crime podcast that just, they ran it and then they stopped it and went to commercial. They came back, let the lady reintroduce it, but you could tell they called her and said, hey, record what this actually is. She reintroduced it and then they just started playing it again. And it was the narrator taking you through the thing. They had different voices for different people. I'm like, if you're on a trip, this is great. But like, if you're running the grocery store and back, you're either really confused or you're going home and getting that podcast.
It happens here sometimes. I'll flip over to Jocks 2 and then I hear Greg's voice. I'm like, whoa, what am I missing? Oh,
well, that's not a long form. Like that's not like an hour and a half storytelling podcast or a multi-episode storytelling podcast. Like this was basically like Serial and the podcast that they put out.
Yeah.
Not you just getting in your cars eating cereal.
Which could happen.
Absolutely. It was odd to hear that that's kind of where that station was going. Nonetheless, quarterbacks that you think will be in Greg's top 10 list at the end of the season. There are a couple kind of fast risers. What's weird here is I don't think that we have outside of Arch, because Lagway and Sellers are kind of proven now, right? Like we don't look at them as maybes. Obviously, it could go south year 2. We've seen sophomore slumps, but they're kind of there. I mean, the guys that we've either been hearing about, kind of where Klubnik was 2 years ago. And we talked about it yesterday, like Clemson, that first spring he enrolled in early in, I can remember saying, well, man, you lose Trevor and wait till you see Klubnik. I mean, Clemson was butt Bama-ing Cade Klubnik as soon as he got on campus. Oh, Deshaun, Trevor, wait till you see this kid. But Cade. Now he's turned into it now. He looks like I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Trevor Lawrence or better than Deshaun Watson in college, but he has turned into that guy. Looks like he's going to be that guy. So who are the next ones that we've sort of been hearing about? I mean, nobody's going to raise their hand for Bryce Underwood, right? A true freshman that's never taken a snap in college. We think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in college football. I don't care how many Cam Newton comparisons you have. I'm not going to stand on the table for that one. I'm going to find it hard to do that. But Rocco Becht was one when going back and looking at this, I kind of thought to myself, he probably needs to be there. And then 2, you look at where some guys are transferring to. I kind of threw out Joey Aguilar a moment ago. I don't think Joey Aguilar's arm is big enough to be he's not going to be Dylan Gabriel in this offense. Like he doesn't throw the ball like that. I'm not saying it's, Danny Werfel's arm strength, but he doesn't have that kind of juice. Like Gabriel gets the ball out quick. Gabriel has great deep ball accuracy. Like he can make the throws. I just don't think Joey's that guy. Now the offense will still allow him to put up some yards, but I don't think we're going to be talking about him as a top 10 quarterback in college football at the end of the season. So are there any others that we're kind of saying, no, he's next. He's coming. That's going to be the guy. That's going to be the one that we've seen just a little bit of, or we were really excited about. Because we don't really know what the quarterback situation at Ohio State looks like right now. There was a minute when we all thought we did, but now we sit back and say, I don't know if that one's going to be it. Don't really know which direction it's going to go. I think I have another name that a lot of people would throw out that I would push back on. But because of a lot of the circumstantial evidence, people would probably say should be there, and that'd be Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. But that's name recognition, hype, talk, funny warm-up videos, hair, logo. Dylan Raiola, 67%, 28-19, 13 touchdowns, 11 picks last year. And think about it. Shedeur didn't even get as much protection as he did. He put up those numbers. Here's an interesting thought for you. We'll go to break, and then Andy Staples will join us in the middle of this hour. You guys think about this one during the break. Damian will get a poll question up on this one, and we'll take your calls and take your texts, take your tweets on this one. We're talking top 10 quarterbacks at the end of the season who is not on Greg's list that will be on Greg's list. 800-239-9569. 800-239-WJOX if you want to get in. Don't forget about Train. Spring weather in Alabama can be unpredictable. That's why you need the reliability of a Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. Right now, can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort systems. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. We will all three debate this or answer this when we come back. You have the option to do it as well on the Higginbotham hotline or via Twitter at Mac and Cube. Text in 205-834-9450. Better chance to be on Greg's end of the season top 10 college football quarterback list. Jackson Arnold or Ty Simpson? We discuss it when we return on Mac and Cube in the morning. So I was singing this song during the break. Damian thought it was who?
You thought it was Creed? To be fair, him and Conrad play the game of is this Creed or Pearl Jam? So he assumes all his 90s rock is either Creed or Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam to me had a very unique sound.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of that, the lead singer.
Right.
But also I feel like there are a lot of 90s, like, I don't want to say wannabe rock, but not like metal, hard rock, like let's say hard pop rock.
Yeah.
That sounded very much alike.
That eventually begat new metal that, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Like, who's the group that Jay-Z did the song with?
Linkin Park?
Yeah. And then there's the other, Papa Roach.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. You're talking about
people.
New metal, more or less, yeah.
I just
Limp
feel
Bizkit.
And a couple others.
Yeah.
I feel like Pearl Jam kind of separated themselves a little bit. I don't feel like they sounded like Creed.
They don't. However, I get how he confuses Eddie Vedder's singing voice with Scott Stapp's. Like, they both have that deep Bob Dylan like I get that.
Guess, yeah.
So his Gen
is
Z,
all Damian knows from 90s rock Pearl Jam and Creed, and so he just guesses that every time.
He claims to know Nirvana, but when I played Sturgill's cover of In Bloom, he didn't know what that was.
Maybe we'll find out later in the show. There could be a way that we could figure that out on air. We'll see.
Got to put on for Gen Z, buddy.
So we're discussing top 10 quarterbacks in college football next year. 800-239-9569. I want us to answer this question as well. Who has a better chance to be on that list at the end of the season? Is it Ty Simpson at Alabama, who wasn't necessarily named the starter, but was given a massive vote of confidence by Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer at the end of spring practice? I think we all assume he will be. And there may be a few people who want an incoming freshman to get that job, to which Greg and I would probably tell you, no, you don't. Ty Simpson or Jackson Arnold at Auburn have a better chance to be a top 10 postseason quarterback this upcoming season. You kind of lit up when I asked the question, John. You looked intrigued. Which way would you lean? 800-239-9569. You want to get in on the Higginbotham hotline. Text in 205-834-9450 to that question.
Well, I lit up because I kind of wrote out a list. You would ask us earlier, hey, who would you put on there? Those were the first two names I wrote down because I think that I have, in essence, two levels. One is kind of like projecting, like Arch Manning. Like, we don't think Arch would, but if we project out with the talent that's there, okay, yeah, we can see it. And the other was, well, they hadn't done much, but given what I guess also projecting as well, but also putting a little faith in, okay, if they can do what we think they can do with the talent that's there, and that's why both of these two kind of stand out. But of the two, I think I would put Ty Simpson in. Not to say that he is a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold. I just think that Auburn, while they may rely on the pass more, they won't have what they had last year at running back. So I think while that may have them rely on the pass more, I think that makes them more susceptible to get got. Where I think Alabama is balanced enough to where, yes, they've got arguably the better receiving core, but they'll be able to throw it, I don't want to say easier, but it won't be as vital for them to throw it as it would be for Auburn.
Okay.
So that's why I put Simpson ahead.
You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Better chance to be in the top 10 college football quarterbacks at the end of the season. After this season, Damian, which direction would you go?
I'd lean Jackson Arnold. I think Jackson Arnold, when you look at his numbers when he was at Oklahoma, they weren't as bad as, I guess, if you were watching him play. Because last season, in 9 games, he threw for 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He also added 444 on the ground as well. I think he's just more he's more well-rounded in the offense where like his legs are going to help him out a lot. They'll bail him out of some things. And I think the system that Hugh Freeze has is it's catered towards him having success, and the receiving core that he has. I would put Auburn's receiving core, and again, they're young, but the potential of big plays coming through the air lean heavier in Jackson Arnold's favor. And the only thing he really has to get over is just the mental hurdles. Like the mental hurdles were the things that hurt Jackson Arnold the most.
You say that with very you say that like it happens with ease. And there's a lot of guys that never happens with. That's right. That's not only the main thing that needs to happen, it will most likely be the most difficult thing that has to happen for him. As I stated on the show many times, he's got to be coached. And a lot of his mistakes have to be coached out of him. And a lot of the things that he could not do last year are going to be have to coached into him. That's going to be important this year. I would also go Jackson Arnold on this. Greg did not have Jackson Arnold or Ty Simpson in his preseason top 10 quarterbacks. We're asking which one has the better chance to be there at the end of the season. One, I think, as you stated, top to bottom, I think running back room probably leans Alabama. But the skill positions, plural, most likely belong to Auburn. That's going to ease things for him, obviously make his life a little bit easier. I actually think the offensive lines are going to be as close as they've been in maybe a decade, just because Alabama, you lose your best offensive lineman. Now, you have Parker Brailsford coming back, and that's great. Love starting there at center. I've seen Caden Proctor mocked at 1 in next year's draft.
Like number 1 overall?
Correct.
Okay.
The latest that I have pulled up has him off the board at 13 to Miami. I forget the service that had him there, but he was 1 on one service. To which I
canceled that service.
No, that's everyone has an opinion.
Was it PFF?
No, he said he looked at it, so no, it couldn't have
been. I don't not look at things that they do. The Gazette in Iowa, of course, has him.
Oh, okay. Home cooking.
Oh, yeah. It's the one that got away. Okay, all right.
But I can't look at the article, so that may be them discussing another service that had him the number 1 pick overall. I'm trying to find it here quickly to see if I can see who it was. It's definitely not 2016. I know I saw it, and I'm pretty sure I heard Pat reference it also. But that's I have to wonder what they've been watching. I don't see him that early off the board. Not 1, right. Probably not even 2.
The first name.
Yeah, that's you got to be a generational tackle to come off the board at number 1. I don't think he will be that, and I do think it might be a weaker class at tackle next year, to which could allow him to be there. But not 1. No. I mean, that's like he's not Kelvin Banks. He's not Will Campbell. He's not Josh Simmons. Now, could turn into some of those possibly, but not yet. No.
I found it. It was PFF.
Well, then
it's PFF.
Problem solved.
They have 2 to the Cleveland Browns, Arch Manning. So that quarterback room is going to be insane for the next
Why wouldn't they
years.
just keep taking quarterbacks, though? And Flacco's going to retire. Maybe finally get rid of Watson, just bring in another rookie.
Did Thanos just stop at 2 Infinity Stones? No, he needed all of them.
That is a strategy. Take all the quarterbacks.
That's what Georgia did. That's what Georgia did.
Don't leave any for anyone else. And you'll be fine.
See, I can't believe this. They had the Tennessee Titans drafting at 3. Like, no. I guess
what quarterback do they take?
We're going on the defense side. We got Caleb Downs. They're rejecting Caleb Downs.
Big E, I appreciate you texting in the show. It was Pro Football Focus. I don't know why, but I could almost see him like not even wanting to hit send on that.
Single tear rolling down his face.
Well, it's no letters are capitalized. It's just at Cole Cubelic. It was Pro Football Focus. Like it almost reads like, I'm sorry to have to do this, but I'm going to do this for you to try to help. Thanks.
Wesley Snipes in that.
And Harlem Nights.
Yeah. Louis DeArmond tweets in, if he stays healthy with the system and the buy-in you see from the team, Ty Simpson. Yes, I'm a homer, but I think his skills fit that offensive system and the new culture emerging in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was going to go with culture as to why one of these two are going to make it. But I think weapons around them and then top end ability, I mean, who has the higher ceiling? I don't know. Many people, even Alabama fans, that would deny that Jackson Arnold, with the arm strength, the arm ability, the mobility, the ability to use his legs, he just has more skill overall. He's a better athlete, but that doesn't always mean you're a better quarterback. Ask Greg McElroy, who made this initial list. Even though he is in the Westlake Carroll Hall of Fame and still holds power clean records there, doesn't mean that he's the best quarterback all the time without being the best athlete. All right, when we come back, Andy Staples has his post-spring top 25 out, and we'll ask him this question, see which direction he goes next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:35 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Watch live on YouTube. You can also download the app, listen that way, and listen online at jocksfm.com. Andy Staples of the On3 Sports Network covers college football. You can see he and Ari Wasserman on YouTube every day at the On3 channel. Talking college football and usually doing a pretty good job of it. Andy, I wanted to have you on because of your post-spring top 25, but we've come across an interesting debate here on the show that I would like your input on. I know you're aware of Greg McElroy's preseason top 10 quarterback list.
Aware.
I think you and Ari at least discussed a portion of it at one point. Some people have big issues with it, but we're not going to get to the issues. We just asked this question quite simply. The one that comes out at the end of the season, Who has a better chance of being on that list? Is it Jackson Arnold or Ty Simpson?
Ooh, that's a great question. But they could both be on that list.
Feasible,
because
possible.
Because if Ty Simpson wins the job, which we think he's going to, he's got Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard to throw to. Like, because I had Alabama number 7 in the post-spring top 25 because I just look at the roster and I'm like, okay, whoever they pick at quarterback is going to have a lot surrounding them. And the Jackson Arnold thing, I've been talking about this. I keep getting asked questions about this all week because people are looking at the Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning situation and comparing it to Oklahoma last year when, Dylan Gabriel leaves and Jackson Arnold comes in. I'm like, I don't know that we've gotten a chance to fairly evaluate Jackson Arnold yet because Oklahoma's offensive line was bad and all of their receivers got hurt. So I don't even think we've got to see him really play yet. So he goes to Auburn where theoretically the line should be better. I mean, Auburn's line wasn't bad last year. They brought in some guys from the portal to compete for starting jobs. And then you've also got Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr. to throw to. Like, I think there's a really good chance they both end up on that list.
I think it's definitely possible. I was a small lean Jackson Arnold because of just the athletic ceiling. I think is going to lean with him. Also think that when you look at the weapons around him, I mean, when was the last time that we could legitimately say Auburn might be better overall at the skill position than Alabama? Then we started talking during the break offensive line. I think it's actually debatable this year. I don't know when the last time, 2013 maybe, was the last time we had that conversation.
I was going to say, were you playing when the last time we had that conversation?
Maybe.
Like, it's been a while. It's been a while. And that's the part because Auburn brought back most of what was a pretty good offensive line for them last year. And that's been an area of concern for the better part of a decade. And you look at what they did in the portal, and they got guys who are power conference starter quality, but it wasn't a situation where they were like, yeah, you're guaranteed to start. It was, you can come in and we'll see what happens. And I just feel like when you have that level of depth that you're going to be better. And the thing about Auburn, I mean, you guys understand this because you saw every game last year. Like, they're not that far off. And you know exactly what the problem was. And so if they are slightly better, their record could be significantly better.
I don't think anybody would deny it. Andy Staples of the On3 Sports Network joining us. When we discuss Auburn going into this season, what is your biggest sticking point with believing that they could be, I'm not even going to go playoff contender, but let's just say vastly improved from a year ago, 8-9 wins, and maybe competitive in a couple of the losses that we didn't see being competitive?
I really just think it's quarterback play. I think eliminate the thing is, even with Peyton Thorne, like, some of those mistakes were awful. Some of them were unlucky. Like, when you lose 4 games by 1 possession, I think they might have lost more than that, but I'm thinking of there's 4 games I can think of where if something had bounced a little bit differently, they could have just won the game. And I think if you got better quarterback play, then you're going to win a couple of those. If you win 2 or 3 of those, it's a very different season. Now, what I think has to happen, you cannot have what you had last year with a coach just throwing a player under the bus repeatedly. Like, Jackson Arnold may make mistakes. Have your guys back. Like, that's one thing that probably would help.
Because I don't think, Andy, going into the season, a lot of people would have had coaching as a real concern. But I wonder how many of those people, specifically the outsiders, not the folks that cover Auburn or there that root for Auburn every day, but the folks who are kind of observing that team from distance, I don't think many would have gone into the season and said, well, the coaching's got to improve, got to be better. The decision-making at critical points has to be different. And now I wonder how many people do have that concern. How different is that portion of how or why people are concerned with Auburn improving greatly?
Well, and I think you had Hugh talking about this a little bit even last year. Like, I remember when he was talking about the play calling, and he was trying to explain, because people were saying, why aren't you running the ball more? And he was trying to explain RPOs and, like, that it's a choice, and you call the RPO, and It doesn't necessarily mean you're saying run the ball. But but he said, and I don't remember what point of the season this was. You might. He said, well, I could just call more runs directly. And it's like, yeah, you could. So, like, I wonder what he took from that, how much he learned from that scenario, because, you know, it's obviously different from what he had success with at Liberty. The game's changed quite a bit since he was at Ole Miss. And look, he knows that. He's been coaching the entire time. So I do think that's a piece of it. And, you know, if he can evolve a little bit here too, I think Auburn's in good shape, because I think the way they've constructed the program under Hugh Freeze is smart. Like, they've done a good job mixing the high school recruiting and the portal recruiting. I think they've got the roster building part down. It's more the on-field.
I don't think people would push back on that. Andy Staples of the On3 Sports Network joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. So who is your biggest mover in your post-spring top 25? I know who I would guess, but I don't recall your pre-spring top 25. I'll just throw it out there. Oklahoma would be the team for me that I probably feel the most different about after spring. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I didn't see anything in spring ball. I talked to some people there, but just based on the additions, I don't know how it couldn't be. Who were your biggest movers in your post-spring top 25?
Well, up was Alabama, and I think it was because I just was not taking into account how much they were bringing back when I did the first one, when I did the one right after the season, and fresh off watching them lose to Oklahoma, and just not thinking about, okay, this team is going to be very talented in a time where the teams that were the most talented last year are losing people and might take a little step back from a talent perspective. So I moved Alabama up. I had them in the teens, and I moved them up to 7. And then I dropped Tennessee, which I was going to drop Tennessee before Nico left, because I just been hearing some things about, they're not sure where the plays come from on offense, and even with Nico. And then Nico leaves, and so it's like, okay, well, I like their defense, so I'm going to keep them in the top 25, but it's going to be very low in top 25.
What is your real expectation for Tennessee now? This is why I ask, because I think this is super intriguing. I did not hear a single person mention Joey Aguilar from December until about 3 weeks ago. And now it's, look at the numbers he put up at App. This Aguilar kid's got a pretty good arm. Joey Aguilar actually has played 7,000 career snaps. I was like, hold on. He was going to UCLA. That's a Big Ten school, and none of y'all talked about him. And now he's viable, and now he can be an all-SEC quarterback. I just don't understand.
I was excited to see him at UCLA, but I was not predicting massive success. I thought his situation was interesting because Appalachian State is always good, and this was the worst Appalachian State team in years last year. And if you look at the 2023 team, he put up great numbers. He had better supporting cast, and last year it was bad. His numbers weren't terrible, but they were not a good team,
right? And
the coach got fired. So my thought was, okay, is he going to have a little bit better supporting cast at UCLA? Which I actually like. Nobody watched UCLA last year, but I thought Deshaun Foster actually did a good job as the season went on, developing an identity for that team. Like, you go back and watch that Iowa game. It was on a Friday night late in the season. Like, UCLA was getting after Iowa. And I was like, okay, if this is what they're going to be going forward, I can get on board with that. But, they lose like J. Michael Sturdivant, the receiver. He's at Florida now. So I don't know exactly what they're going to be. But I was excited to see Joey Aguilar at UCLA because I thought maybe he gets back to 2023 level. But, yes, obviously this all blew up because now the Tennessee fans want him to be the savior. And I keep telling everybody, like, they didn't bring him in guaranteeing he's going to start. He may not. It may be Jake Merkling or George McIntyre starting. Like, this was not a one-for-one trade. It just so happened they needed somebody who had a lot of FBS experience. They shook the trees trying to get somebody to shake loose who was an experienced power conference starter, and none of them left.
Totally fair. Andy, great stuff, man. Appreciate the time. Always good catching up with you. I wanted to discuss that post-spring top 25. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, Cole. Appreciate it.
There you go. Andy Staples on 3 Sports Network. Find his podcast with Ari Wasserman. They do a great job I've told you guys before, one of my go-to Sunday listens every time I'm traveling after games. You can check them out anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube at Andy Staples via Twitter. We'll come back, follow up a couple of the things Andy said about the post-spring top 25 there and his confidence with Alabama next on Mac and Cube in the morning. When we come back on the other side to start hour number 2, we'll look at some of the transfers coming into SEC teams through the spring window and how and why that should give us extra confidence as to what those teams may be. You heard Andy Staples say he just simply went back and looked at the Alabama roster, and that forced him to move Alabama up a little bit. Also thought it was interesting where Andy went with how close Auburn is or how close he views them to being. I don't know if a lot of other people look at it that way. I think some other people look at it instead of, like, that was very glass half full from Andy. I think there are even some Auburn fans that look at it as, yeah, that thing seems a little more dicey than it does knocking on the door of positive. But people see it different ways. I'm sure some people look at it and say, no. If they make this adjustment here, if they can find a way to be better at that, then all of a sudden it is going to turn around. It is going to be better. And a lot of that was quarterback play at times, but not as much of it was quarterback play as I think a lot of people want to believe. Some of it was like Andy went into decision-making, saying you can call more called run plays, well, then why not just do it? And like Greg said yesterday, that didn't happen seemingly until the Kentucky game last year. When were the other times that it felt like, okay, the run is there, we are just going to run it at you, there's not going to be a lot you can do? Now, decisions come into that. Sometimes it's what the defense gives you. Sometimes it's just what's there, what's not there. But there weren't many times that Auburn went over 40 carries last year as a team, not an individual. New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Texas A&M, which Texas A&M was one that as the game went on, it did feel a little bit more like we will be dedicated. We're going to stick with running the ball. Kentucky, we know for sure. As Nick Rouse stayed on the show yesterday, he felt like he still hears the PA announcer announcing that Jarquez Hunter has run for another first down. 50 carries, 326 yards in that game. 50 carries. But if you can repair that, get to that a little bit more often, it's one of the things that I do think needs to be altered. Maybe the quarterbacks don't need as much freedom as they're given in that offense to be allowed to make mistakes at certain points in time. Now, if you have the switch of, okay, green light, make those decisions, great. Red light, sometimes turn it off and just call the play. I mean, I talked to Sark at the beginning of the year last year, and he said, we're going to have more call it and run it's this year, which means you call a play, you go run the play. It doesn't matter the coverage. It doesn't matter the front. Run an inside zone. Run an outside zone. That's what we're doing. And maybe it's a screen or a quick pass play. Like we're running that play because we want the defense to see it. We want confidence to be built with our entire unit that we can run it. And we have things that we want to build off of that. So if you want to attach things to a play, which is usually how a lot of great plays work, not just play action. Like some people think, okay, you run inside zone, then you fake inside zone, but the quarterback keeps it and you throw a route off of it. Well, if you can run the stretch play, you watch Missouri's offense, they build about 60% of their offense running off of that play. Now, that could be you show jet motion with split zone and you hand it to the jet motion coming around. That could be a heavy play action. That could be a bootleg. That could be a reverse. And then a lot of your different portions of your passing game through screens, your RPOs can be built off that. I mean, it's the majority of the offense is built off one foundational play. And then you can add 2-3 foundational plays that you build other things around. And we could get Damian in here to talk about the route tree and how you got to throw an out route. You got to throw a slant to be able to build a sluggo or to be able to build an out and up. Certain routes can only be run because other routes have been successful. But you have to have those plays be run at certain points in time if you're going to begin to build off of them. You can't go build the second story of the house first. Would love to put the roof on initially. Be great. The construction workers would have shade to build the rest of the house. It doesn't work that way. So some of those foundational parts of the Auburn offense, I think, need more focus and need more emphasis rather than we can do everything on every play. It might not need to happen that way. And specifically with a quarterback whose decision-making at times was in question last year, not all his fault, because Greg's laid it out beautifully, the difficulties of playing for a defensive-minded head coach, of which I had never considered to the length that we did on the show that day, and it makes total sense now. Defensive coach, don't mess it up. Don't screw it up. Don't make this mistake. Whatever you do, don't give the ball back. And as we talked about on the show, do you ever think Hugh Freeze is having that conversation? You think Lincoln Riley's having that conversation that way? You think Lane Kiffin talks that way? Sark doesn't talk that way. Like Eli Drinkwitz doesn't go into a game and say, hey, man, whatever you do, don't throw that interception here. Whatever you do, don't miss this route. Offensive coaches seemingly are out to inject confidence into their guys. Maybe a little bit more risk-worthy. Defensive coaches, not as risky. Play a little bit closer to the vest. Play a little bit safer. So that could have played into some of the thought process. Like, you think Jeff Lebby's going into a game telling Blake Shapen, hey, man, just don't screw up today. Whatever you do, just don't mess this up for us, all right? And we'll be okay. No. He wants yards. He wants points. He wants first downs. He wants touchdowns. He wants explosive plays. You don't get those by not screwing up. And then Andy had a lot of confidence in what he feels like the Alabama roster is. Where is the Alabama roster comparatively? When we look at it compared to other SEC rosters, how many definitively would be ahead? How many would definitively be behind? Some of you chiming in on the Ty Simpson, Jackson Arnold question on postseason top 10 quarterback rankings. Who has a better chance of being there? You can still do that. 800-239-9569. You can text into the show 205-834-9450. We'll get to some of your feedback on the other side. We'll begin talking Alabama roster, where it is, where it compares to some others. And I will tell you this, next hour, the SEC is so good that they're winning other conferences. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2, 8 a.m. Friday, May 2nd, Jocks 94.5. 800-239-9569. You want to get in. Pretty big day in Tuscaloosa yesterday. Coach Saban addressing some of the graduates. President of the United States addressing some of the graduates. Let you hear a couple of things that came out of that maybe later this hour. Dick Girardi going to join us at 9 to talk Kentucky Derby. And Dean Blandino going to be with us at 9:30 today. Rules official for not only the UFL, but the NFL as well. Some interesting questions that we could potentially discuss with him. One name that has been thrown into our who potentially will be on Greg's top 10 quarterback list in college football at the end of the season. You guys tell me what you think here. Gunnar Stockton. That comes in from When the Man Comes Around on Twitter.
Oh, Johnny Cash. Okay, cool.
I don't think that's him, but the name that he has chosen for his social media platform. William Mack responds at William MCC 36124. What do we think that number is, by the way? 36124. Is it a zip code?
Oh, it makes sense. At what point, with the numbers or that are in your name or whatever, do you think it's a bot? How many numbers is it?
More than that.
Okay.
Also, don't think a bot would have William MC M small c big C.
Ooh, that's true. Yeah. Hey, I hadn't gotten that smart yet.
So if he is like William McLaughlin,
Or Greg McElroy. Yeah.
what's another M little c big C name?
McLaren.
He has 2 C's?
Yeah.
I listened to McLaren's show when I was in Arlington a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
When I got in town, they were on.
Ooh.
It was exactly what you'd expect.
It's Friday. You were listening Friday, weren't you?
He responds, the quarterback that is actually on a good team.
So both.
Well, I haven't seen either play. How do we know which one's good or bad?
It's true.
How many reps have we seen? Which one's better in the red zone? Which one's better situationally? Who's better on special teams? I haven't seen them, so I don't know which one's good or bad. But I bet I know which way that one's leaning. Royal Payne tweets in, Simpson's more athletic than people assume. Okay, but is he more athletic than Jackson Arnold? Because I think that was a debate.
That's the question.
And he's not.
No.
So, good escapability, much more ability to run on broken plays than a Mac Jones. By the way, well, maybe not the ones that are responding now. I would think about 98% of Alabama fans would take a Mac Jones final season in Tuscaloosa.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter a lot, but did run for 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns senior year of high school. Showed wheels in limited Bama time.
Have you seen Jackson Arnold? Have you seen Jackson?
And I don't. Jackson Arnold's not going to be a good SEC quarterback mainly because of speed or athleticism, but it is something that I think is going to be installed in the offense that's going to make them more difficult to defend. I do think that's feasible. Beef and Ched at Ched and Ched 37833 35209. So is that a zip code? That's 2 in a row. Because it's not the last of your phone number. It's not your entire phone number. It's not the last 4 of your social. I'm interested in the 5 numbers at the end of names on Twitter, why that happens.
Zip code makes sense.
What is Twitter forcing in there? Is he the 3,783,000th user?
That could be.
That could be.
I don't know. He tweets in, at Mac and Cube just saying anything this AM. What we learned today, Auburn has a better line and skill position players this year. Jackson Arnold has not been able to prove himself yet. The preseason delusion has begun. That comes from Beef and Ched. At and Ched 37833. In which we are delusional.
What's delusional about the skill and offensive line? Is it not worth a debate or a question?
I feel like it's a fair projection to say that there's a good chance Auburn's offensive line will be better this year. I don't recall, my hand's not bruised today from pounding the table, saying that Auburn's offensive line is definitively better than last year. Do feel like with a lot of the skill outside of receiver taken in the 6th?
Right.
And a tight end undrafted that could be better. Running back obviously is not going to be as good as last year.
Hold on. That person may not be real. He may be PFF. 37833 is not a current zip code.
Oh, boy.
So it's a bot.
Oh, boy.
A bot's choosing beef and Ched as his name?
I'd like to think a human wouldn't.
Oh, he adds, I'm sorry, second tweet to its may remove bot status,
Okay.
asterisk better than Alabama.
Oh.
I would love to hear the debate of Alabama's receiver room being better than Auburn's.
Pound for pound.
Just, and I'm not saying it definitively is or isn't.
Right.
But when was the last time we could even debate it?
It's been a while.
And I would also, like, outside of beef and Ched, is there a definitive answer to which offensive line is going to be better this year? No, we haven't played yet, so we really don't know. But even if we're just projecting it out, you definitively are telling me that Alabama's O-line is better than Auburn's right now. And I understand that PFF has Caden Proctor as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next year. I get that. Y'all can ride that boat as far as you would like out into the ocean, because there will be treacherous waters ahead. But hey, we see some of those boats on Twitter that, like, the ships go down in the big swells and the water comes up over the whole top of it, and they're fine. It all works out. It's not a problem. Y'all ride those waves. I'll stay off the PFF ship for now. But it's an unfair debate. Is that what Ched is telling me? It's not even worth a discussion? Because that's what I found interesting of Andy Staples saying on the show a few minutes ago, was that he bumped Alabama up because he went back and looked at the roster. And that, again, this will be taken out of context as to, I don't think that they're good football players, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm making the comparison to is that 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, there were super scary players at a lot of different spots for Alabama. Where are those guys right now? Like, who are the guys on Alabama's roster right now? And again, not that they don't have some good football players, because I know y'all are going to think that and say that, but that's not where I'm going here. And I know the Bama guy's not in today, so we're automatically all barn radio. I get that. I'm not allowed to talk about Alabama in a not super duper positive way because I'm just a homer now when I say anything +1 about Auburn. I get it. But who are the super scary guys? And when I say that, in a different language, essentially, this is what I'm saying. Who are the dudes there's nothing you can do about? Quinnen Williams, nothing you could do about.
Rolando McClain.
Couldn't do anything about
it.
it. Mika Fitzpatrick, you couldn't avoid it. It was going to Derrick Henry, how did you avoid that? 9 in the box? Didn't matter. I mean, Amari Cooper. I mean, Lane was throwing him the ball with a guy that has not played a lot of professional quarterback. Wasn't much you could do. Jedrick Wills, Cam Robinson, Tyler Booker. The list goes on and on. Jonah Williams. There wasn't a lot you could do. Chance Warmack. There wasn't a lot you could do about those guys. They were going to move you. DJ Fluker. Where are those guys? I told you, I think Parker Brailsford's great. Caden Proctor has some good football in him, but guys, he has some questionable football in him. And now he's going to go back-to-back springs with almost no snaps. So we're all of a sudden, and again, this is where I fail because I don't use the number system. But PFF can take the numbers and say that the development is definitively going there because of a formula. I prefer reps to be able to get better. I realize I'm out of line saying that. I understand that is a flawed thought process to think that you actually have to do something to be better at it. I told you guys, I failed math 3 years in high school. So I can't use a formula to say this guy's going to be that much better next year because he had a 78.925 run block ratio with his hands in the right place or whatever the hell they use. I don't know what they use. I don't know what they watch. I don't know who watches it. But y'all take numbers and all of a sudden believe that everybody's just going to be better. Who are the guys? Tell me. At wide receiver, who's the guy? Doesn't mean they don't have good ones. Who's the guy on defense that teams are going to say, I don't know how we manage that? I think LT Overton can be a good football player. Are teams game planning around him? Because I think they were game planning around Jonathan Allen. I think you tried to avoid him at all costs. Who are the other ones? I mean, Quay Russaw, we think, has a chance to be great. If there's a guy who's close to it, I think it's Deontay Lawson. He's been in and out of the lineup. Do you go into a game and say, I don't know how we're going to cover Jeremy Bernard, guys? Like, literally, we literally don't have the bodies for it. We can't do it. Doesn't mean Jeremy Bernard won't get wins. If there's a guy on the offense, it's probably Ryan Williams. Okay, so if you did come up with a plan to just neutralize him, how many guys are going to benefit greatly from it? And again, the system will allow a lot of that to work because it's good and because Grubb and DeBoer can coach. But the question that was brought up was roster, not coaching, roster. How many rosters right now would you say definitively, just talent-wise, are ahead of Alabama in the SEC? Let's get the easy one out of the way. Texas. It's better. Would you take LSU's roster or Alabama's roster right now? Would you take Georgia's roster or Alabama's roster right now? And then go back and think about the fact that you're even thinking about it and how many years it wouldn't have been a thought. It's a fair question. Would you take Florida's roster or Alabama's right now? And I know people are sitting there going, pfft. But we know what that quarterback's probably capable of. And they got a first-round D tackle on that team. And I think they got some really good running backs on that team and some pretty good receivers. It's at least a conversation. And it hasn't been for a long time. Some people will tell you they would inject Texas A&M into that conversation. I'm not there with Texas A&M right now. Just not. I'm not there. We know Beef and Ched's not there.
But Bama.
Georgia? Yes or no? Which one are you taking? Just the guys, just the bodies.
I'd lean Alabama.
That was not an easy decision.
No.
Is Ole Miss up for debate? We know last year it was. I don't know if this year it is. Tennessee was last year. I don't know if they are this year. Specifically with the quarterback that you lost.
Not now.
I will give you one more that I personally think is definitively ahead of Alabama, roster-wise, in the Southeastern Conference, next on Mac and Cube in the morning. The tweets are rolling in. The people are angry. Greg will be back Monday, or will he? Is he back Monday? Let me check.
I think so. What band was this, John?
No. You tell us.
Yeah, man. It's a very popular 90s rock band.
Rage Against the Machine.
Wow. That's not even close.
No.
Like, I can't even allow you to have
here's the
a
thing.
yes,
Can you
sounds
tell-
like it.
Can you tell now by his voice? I mean, this is identifiable. If you know.
No.
Okay. All right.
Smashing Pumpkins?
Correct.
Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins.
Mm.
That was my next
that was
choice.
the one.
That was my
Led
next
by
choice.
Damien, led by.
I-
Okay. Yeah.
Billy? Not Bowman.
Mm-mm. Not Maze.
Not Madison.
I have no clue. Billy?
Not Wade.
I have no idea.
Not Baby Freeman. No.
Billy who?
Corrigan.
Cork. Like, no. I would have
Mm.
never
Yes.
guessed that. I would have
Mm.
never guessed that.
Bill
Never
Burr's,
heard of him.
apparently Bill Burr's brother, I guess.
Why was he more popular than the band?
Billy Corrigan,
Yes.
because he loved Bozo, the clown.
If I'm not mistaken, when we read about that show that morning, he was one of the investors
Yes.
that bought the show.
That's why he brought that up again.
And was he also not responsible for the Bozo the Clown Show Hall of Fame that they
Something like that.
the
Yeah.
pop-up shop that they made somewhere in Chicago?
I remember like the final episode, like they were broadcasting, final episode of Bozo the Clown featuring Billy Corrigan. I was like, what?
Featuring.
Yeah. It's like, wait, what?
Did he ride the tricycle out there?
I don't know. I know he did the ping pong thing. I saw
There's
that.
some really interesting background on that if you dive into it, because we did one day on
Yep.
the show. It's intriguing.
When we told
Still
Damien
want to
who
say
it was.
grand prize game, one of the biggest ruse of all time. You just everybody always so easy. Okay. Because when they had that game at Diamond Gyms,
Right.
and I tried it for $1 a time, 150 times, it is not as easy as you think.
So you were undefeated in beer pong then if that game was so easy, right? Or all those talking out there? Okay.
A couple folks chiming in, 800-239-9569. You can call in to tell me what a poor job I'm doing today in Greg's absence.
Not enough barn.
AC's dad tweets in, this is my favorite time of year. Pre-summer, no Greg on the show, cold throwing cold water on Bama. That's usually how it goes. Turn the temperature down. Give me the bucket. No more grand prize game. Time to throw water on Bama. That's my game. That's the playlist. Greg Hendricks tweets in, as a Georgia fan, I would take Bama roster right now till we can prove we can beat them consecutive times.
Fair.
But you beat the team with the best roster in the SEC twice last year. No, the Georgia roster it's also a similar conversation. Like, this is not the definitive Georgia roster over almost everyone else, or just Georgia, Alabama. Who would you take? Georgia's in the mix with a couple of these rosters. I'll give you one more over both of those that I would take right now. Oklahoma.
I was going to ask that.
Because John Mateer is that guy. Deion Burks, if healthy, is that dude. Defensive line is real. Now, the offensive line, I'm not putting them ahead of many other teams in the league. That's not one that I'll say, with Alabama losing some guys and some uncertainty, that I would definitely take Oklahoma. No, definitely not. But running back's going to be strong. Receiver's going to be strong. Quarterback really good. Defensive line really good. Now, that's top end. You want to really start diving into the depth, which a lot of those were just going on star rankings at that point. But whoever you're rooting for. But this guy, I hadn't seen him. Glenn Opper tweets in, why shame at Run DM6? Man has zero music acumen. He can't help it. Dogged me a couple of times years ago about Al Green.
Ooh.
We don't know Al Green.
I don't know what the debate was there.
I don't remember.
Mikey Walker tweets in, a lot of unknowns in Tuscaloosa with mostly on paper talent. Best I can give them is in the mix to make 12-team playoff. Optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. There's reason for optimism. I'm not, don't get me wrong. One, the coaching staff, in my opinion, is great. The system works. It's proven. You have a quarterback that has been around for a couple of years that has a good set of skills that should be able to direct it. You might have the best center in the SEC coming back. You should be solid at running back. And the receivers are going to be good. Just because it's not Judy, Ruggs, Waddle doesn't mean that it can't be successful in the SEC. But it might mean that it's not, maybe not just better than every other SEC team. Ryan Williams is a dynamo, like a star in college football. Maybe Mbakwe or Jalen Hale, it's their time to show up. I mean, did we have a guy tweet in during the season that Jalen Hale's next in line because he caught 2 deep balls? I feel like I remember that.
I recall.
And Isaiah Horton's coming in, he's solid.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, defensively, Deontay Lawson, legit, big-time player, when healthy. I think Quay Russaw can be. He has shown signs of being a big-time player. LT Overton, he exceeded expectations last year. Tim Keenan's played really good football. But as I said earlier, which one are you game planning around? Which one does most offenses not have an answer for? And by the way, this is not picking on Alabama. Give me the defenses in the SEC that have multiple guys that nobody can do anything about anymore. There are not many. Just top to bottom, there are not many super scary defenses in the SEC. Now, just going to tell you right now, Trey Moore, Trey Burt, Colin Simmons coming back off the edge at Texas with the best off-the-ball linebacker maybe in college football, they're going to cause some problems. That's going to be tough to deal with. Tennessee doesn't have the front that they had last year.
Mm-mm.
South Carolina doesn't have all. They got Dylan Stewart, but guess what they don't have? Kyle Kennard and 3 NFL defensive tackles. They don't have that. Ole Miss doesn't have 2 D linemen that were drafted. 3 D linemen that were drafted, if you want to count Princely in that. Not super scary. Auburn's got Keldrick Falk, but who else is, oh man, watch out for that guy. Like DeMarcus Riddick might be great. Looks like he could be really good. A&M doesn't have Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, and Nick Scorton. I don't look at A&M's defense and say, man, people are just not going to be able to withstand that. It's not a real thing. Georgia got a couple guys, but I don't know if we're sitting here. I mean, it's not what it was 5 or 6 years ago. Nobody has that defense right now. So it's not a knock necessarily to say who are the guys that you can't manage or can't work around or going to have to find something different to do with, because not really anybody seems to have them right now. I think a lot of that's movement, a lot of that's lack of development, a lot of that is guys growing into the system or the scheme and understanding it and being a great athlete. And when that all comes together is usually when you become dominant. Like I remember Jonathan Allen at Tennessee his freshman year when it was like 66-0. And he got in late, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, who is this kid? And why doesn't he play more? Now, he looked like he was about 255. But you're like, that dude can go. Well, the next year, he's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. He plays a little bit more. He looked pretty good. And then the next year, he was almost unstoppable. That's usually how it goes. Like, did Derek Brown show up at Auburn in game 1, have 5 tackles for loss? No. He was around. He got to understand the speed of the game, the physicality. Next year was pretty good. The next year, he was almost unstoppable. It's kind of seemingly how it works. I mean, yeah, you're going to get a transfer in every now and then that can be dominant. I mean, Nick Scorton was that dude. We all wondered, going into last year, people said, he's first rounder. All right. I mean, Purdue probably caught some teams doing some different things. Like maybe he sacked the backup quarterback 11 times in different games. I don't know. But he came in and was that guy. You're going to get like Kyle Kennard. We had no expectations for last year at South. Absolutely none. I asked Brent Key about him. He's like, man, he's a good kid, tries hard, but I mean, I don't know. Now, is Dylan Stewart the same Dylan Stewart without Kyle Kennard opposite him? Or Tonka Hemingway and TJ Sanders inside to also be problematic? And Demetrius Knight calling the defense? And Nick Imanonori with like an 8-foot wingspan and a 42-inch vertical running around behind him? I don't know if that's going to be the same. Probably not. Greg Hendricks tweets in, what spot would you rate Gunnar Stockton at in the SEC? We'll answer that question on the other side. Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, a lot of you chiming in on a couple of different things, specifically how bad I am at my job today. Beef and Ched is tweeting back in. Ched does believe that Alabama's, quote, big three, Williams, Bernard, Horton, is better than Auburn's big three. They are more proven, have better stats. But what's the PFF ranking? And are in a better situation. The O-line could be debated, but I will lean Bama due to Proctor's potential. That's dangerous.
Potential to leave you again?
Oh, no, you
John
didn't do
said
that.
it.
What? He's leaving at the end of the year.
I
He's
didn't
going
even
to the
do
draft.
that.
John said it.
I didn't even do that.
He
Okay,
says their
so
receivers are in a better
so
position.
Damian, you are a former wide receiver. Maybe you're always a wide receiver. I don't know.
Always.
Debate the big three at Alabama. I'm assuming he's going with Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. That would be your big three at Alabama versus your big three at Auburn. Cam Coleman. Are you going to go Malcolm Simmons? Eric Singleton's 2. I think you have a couple options at 3. We'll just say Malcolm Simmons at 3. See, this is where it gets fun because I don't think anybody knows about Eric Singleton.
Right.
Y'all need to go watch him. Like, dude is...
He's a firecracker.
He is big time.
No, I think like the versatility in the receiver room for Auburn.
You want me to say something that's really going to piss the people off?
Please.
Eric Singleton, Ryan Williams is debatable. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk to Eric Singleton, but I'm saying Eric Singleton is in that conversation. And if you're going to go numbers, that's all I'm saying is that you need to have seen him before you immediately slam dunk the other way on that.
Fair.
754 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns last year. Also 131 rushing yards with another rushing touchdown.
That's the trick. It's the versatility in Auburn's receiver room. Also, again, you can look at the inconsistency they had at quarterback the last season. Like, I mean, it happens. It plays a part. But when you're talking about just pound for pound and room for room, yeah, Auburn's like, I think Auburn has the best receiving room in the nation. I mean, in the SEC. I do believe that. You saw glimpses of Cam Coleman. The biggest thing for him, again, he's a freshman. He had freshman mistakes. Yeah, he had freshman mistakes. It's the versatility and the usage that they have of, if you're putting, like they can have a formation where they have Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, and you could throw Perry Thompson all on one side in a trip set. Like your defense has to make a decision. Same thing with Eric Singleton. It's the versatility that they have to put them inside, outside. They can run just about every route in the route tree. The difference is in Alabama's case, Ryan Williams, he's probably the most versatile. Jeremy Bernard, you know exactly what you're going to get. He's not going to necessarily burn you over the top. He's very similar to, and I say this now because he's a Titan, but Tyler Lockett. You know exactly what you're going to get. He's not going to be the guy that, oh yeah, we need an 80-yard go ball. That's not his forte. He'll do his best damage in the middle of the field. You'll get him open. He has to be more schemed around, like formationally. You have to hide him a little bit, and that can help. And Isaiah Horton, I hadn't seen him at Alabama. I know what he did at Miami, which was fine, but also the quarterback that they had was elite as well. So I think that when you look at the whole total package of the room, I would lean Auburn for sure because of the versatility that they have.
He also had Jacoby George, Xavier Restrepo, Elijah Arroyo at tight end. He also had Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher in the backfield. Like that Miami offense, and you got a guard that was Jalen Rivers was drafted, and you have a tackle and probably another guard that are going to get drafted next year off that offense last year from Miami. So there were a lot of pieces that were helping all the different players there at Miami. Now, Cam Ward was the biggest piece of that and a massive portion of that. If you wanted to go Singleton and Williams, 48 catches, 56 catches, 865, 754, 8 and 3 touchdowns. You probably lean Williams statistically a little bit there. I do think that Williams was used more down the field this year than Singleton was, but Singleton has reps where you watch him, he can go get the football and he can attack it. He's not as fluid. I don't know if anybody's as fluid as Ryan Williams, and mainly because the change of direction, not just left to right or north to south, but like every way possible, the body control is literally off the charts. It's one of the best I've ever seen at any position in college football, not just wide receiver. And then you start talking to David Ballou about his numbers and how quickly he gets to full speed and how quickly he can decelerate. And then when they do the little jump pad thing where you jump off a box and then you have to like give an explosive rep off of it, like his is like a micro millisecond. I mean, he's comparing them to guys like Jalen Waddle and other players like that. And he's like, his numbers are way past theirs. So yeah, he's able to do things that humans normally can't do. I think Ryan Williams is fantastic. He's a fun player to watch. But we here all have watched him a lot. Not a lot of folks here have watched Eric Singleton and what he's capable of doing. And the guy's just got juice. He does. Now, maybe where Beef and Chet is going is just right this very second proven commodities. He'll take Alabama. And that's actually not a bad thought process there because you say, I think Jeremy Bernard's about tapped out. And that's not a negative. I just think like it'll probably show up in the draft next year where he's not going to go super high because people are going to say, this is what you're getting. Now, Ryan Williams is going to be way up there because even when he comes out the year after this, people are going to say he probably has like another 8,000 miles he can go. He's not even close to reaching his potential because how old is he?
18 now.
Okay. He's still going to be young when he gets drafted, but that will be discussed. Get ready to hear that because you're going to hear it because he's 18 now. He'll be 19 next year. He won't be 19 when he gets drafted, will he? I think he'll be 20 when he gets drafted. I remember Tarek Glenn, Indianapolis. He was 19 when he got drafted. He came out of high school a year early, then left a year early from, I believe, Cal. And like people talk about how insane it was, which it was at the time. Now, he was not 19 when he played in an NFL game, but you're going to hear it because for draftable age, he will be young, and that will be impressive. But that's also going to lean people to think, man, that ceiling is still way up there. And I think Isaiah Horton is somewhat similar to that. As you stated with some of the Auburn kids, that potential still could be up there and still could be something that you look at and say, hey, you know, they still have a ways to go. As we said earlier, don't think definitively any of it is in stone. I do think Alabama has an edge in the running back room. I love the kid from Lafayette that they got. I think he's a hammer. I think he's got juice. He's got good acceleration, more breakaway speed than people talk about. But guess how many people here have watched him? Probably about 4. So I'll give him credit there. I don't really know what to make of Auburn's running back room yet. And I think Singleton will be used in it some. I think you'll see some 2-back with him back there. They'll motion him out. I think Damari Alston is solid. I think Jeremiah Cobb is pretty good. People think Alvin Henderson's going to come in and help. I mean, what did he have, 17 touchdowns in a game?
That was a bunch. He had 6 against Maplesville.
You know, people think that, you know, Darrell Robinson from UConn and Charlotte's going to come in and solve problems. I think he's a little bit more of a change-up, bigger back. He's a very upright runner. He's a one-cut downhill runner. He's not going to do some of the things that Jarquez Hunter did. But as Greg has stated before, you almost don't need Adrian Peterson to find success running the ball in this offense. And if the offensive line is pretty good, which I think Dylan Wade's a better fit at guard. And by the way, when we're speaking of ceiling, like Dylan Wade is where he is. He's not a guy that I think is going to get a ton better, but he's a good football player right now, and he's probably 26. Like Jeremiah Wright, for the last 2 years, has had a lot of chances to get better. 1, he didn't know the plays 2 years ago. 2, he was overweight last year. Those 2 things continue to come into play. Like he could be better. I'm not saying he's going to be a game changer. But Xavier Chaplin from Virginia Tech, if you don't think he's better than Perry Thompson at left tackle, we need to have a different conversation because that kid was a liability when he was in the game. But remember what people were telling you this time last year. People who cover that team told you the 4-star, immediate starter left tackle, Auburn's better. Y'all didn't watch Mississippi State, did you? Because I did. We knew it was going to be a problem on this show, and he was never good. He was not good. And now he's Ole Miss's problem, so good luck with it. Mason Murphy is a solid right tackle from USC. I like Murphy better than I like Chaplin, but he's better than what Auburn's had. Speaking of, well, I don't know his PFF rating, so I don't know if I can statistically say he's better or not. I don't have that.
Gotta get his best
All I have is tape to tell you that Mason Murphy is better than what Auburn has had at right tackle. Now, Xavier Miller gave him some good reps at times, but it wasn't always clean. It wasn't always great. But I think it's going to be better. And now you have Miller coming off the bench and maybe a Tyler Johnson off the bench to add a little bit of depth. Now, if you had to immediately go to those two guys in game 3, I'd probably say this is not great for them. Offense is going to struggle to get to full speed. And I think Connor Lew still has a chance to be one of the, I don't think he's better than Brailsford. He has a chance to be one of the best centers in the SEC this year. Like top 3-5. By the way, there's not like 7 draftable centers in the SEC coming back next year. So it's not like I'm sitting here saying he's the next Termani Dawson. I think he's going to be a good college football player. Got a chance to play in the pros for a while. So, yeah, there's reason to have confidence there. I mean, Dylan Wade has probably played 20,000 snaps of college football. Jeremiah Wright's played a lot of college football. Murphy and Chaplin both played a lot of reps of college football. So, going back to the debate on the receiver front of the proven portion of this, having had played portion of this conversation, yeah, I'm going to lean there. Also, I'll tell you this, and I don't love saying this, Auburn's system's a little bit easier to operate from an offensive line perspective. There are a lot more workarounds with what they do. There's a little more old school portion of what Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb are going to want to do. That's just what it is. And that's not a bad thing. It just means the level of success rate is probably going to be a tad more difficult. You got to strain a little bit more. Like, could Jaden Roberts be great? Yes. Didn't finish the season healthy last year. I've seen Cam Dewberry at A&M. He needs to be lighter, and his technique is sloppy. It's got to be cleaned up. Wilkin Formby, we haven't seen a ton of. I don't really know. And Proctor's been sort of up and down. But people tweet into the show like Proctor has been Jonah Williams for 2 years. He hasn't. Here I go, making people mad again. Royal Payne tweets in, so does this make Damien the PFF of bumper music?
Maybe 90s rock. I know a few of them.
Austin, I can't answer that question on air. Sorry. Michael Kirby tweets in at Mac and Cube. Hey, at Cole Cubelic, I think due to Alabama not losing players in the portal as opposed to the mass exodus from last year and being in year 2, I would lean Alabama in most comparisons. Is that just to Auburn? Or is that to Texas, into LSU, into Florida, into Georgia, and Oklahoma? I need to know that before I answer. Who exactly are we comparing them to? Jolly tweets in, hey, at Cole Cubelic, both these teams have potential. I'm not putting money on either until I see a few games. I'll say it. I'm not sold on Ty Simpson or the Bama O-line. If that O-line waffles, hold on to your hats, boys. Monday mornings are going to be hate, hate, hate.
Fair.
Totally fair.
It's fair.
Ty Simpson could also be great. The O-line could be great. A lot of things have to happen. How many great O-lines have we talked about every year for the last 3 years? Not just in the SEC, in general. Not many.
Not many.
It's not easy for that to happen, which is why you need these other things to be able to help circumvent it a little bit. And then when they do come together and are pretty good or really good, watch out, Sally. I offer you up the SEC championship game 2 years ago. Questionable O-line. How did Alabama's O-line look against South Florida that year?
Not good.
You talk about holding on to your hats. People were eating their hats. And then what happened in the SEC championship game? Tyler Booker looked like the AI simulation of the gorilla against 100 humans. They were literally throwing people 10 yards off the ball.
Facts.
I almost feel like we need to come back to that conversation too.
Tyler Booker?
No, the humans versus the gorilla. We ran out of time yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we'll do that next, but we'll do something. Mac and Cube in the morning. I wish I could read this text to you that I just got on air. It would be the biggest heel turn in one of my 3 or 4 things that I consistently go against in college football of all time.
Slide protection.
We'll never accept that as a primary source of pass protection. No, it has its place, similar to a certain website that covers football at all levels. But no, that's not it. There are 2 or 3 other things that I consistently don't have time for that I'll tell you, I can't do it now. I did get another text, though. Great news for you guys. Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan are going to kick off their this is not a read, by the way. I made it sound like one. They're kicking off their 30th tour in June. Baltimore.
Okay.
First tour since 1988.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, they
He's 58 years old, and according to this guy, still rocking. Almost 1,800 shows in 50 countries.
Oh, wow.
Are they touring the rest of their lives?
well, I guess if you take 30 years off, you got a lot of lost time to make up for.
Has anyone ever announced that we're just going to tour until we're dead? Other
No.
than Grateful Dead and
yeah.
Fish.
No,
But,
we've gotten some goodbye tours. But
1,800 shows? Honest to God, how long is that going to take?
do what, 40 a year? Well, I need more than that.
Oh, boy.
That's
How
one
many
a week.
back-to-back nights can you realistically do, though?
I know
That's
NBA players
that's
can do it.
got to be at least 3 years, right?
I was gonna say
NBA players
more.
Once
Can't do
again,
it
I
in
failed
that.
math 3 years in
I
high
was gonna
school.
say
So
like
this is
5.
this is not the equation for me to try to. I was going to guess 5 initially. I was like, that sounds too long. I can't do that.
Whew.
That's about 11 years of shows if you do 3 a week.
It's got to be more than 3 a week. Then they got double headers
Probably not. Well, do they
playing
count
like Comiskey and Wrigley the same day.
Oh, man.
Protective and BJCC at 11 and 11. Daytime show, nighttime show.
That's it. They're going to have to.
Or do they have the show at Protective but like simulcast it into BJ and that counts as 2?
Maybe those numbers are off. 1,800 shows in 50 countries, by the way. So there can't be many
Ooh.
back-to-backs.
Maybe they'll go to like 4 corners or something and like do it there. They're like, yep, we got 4 states. There we go. That was easy.
God.
Like up there when you're going to Chattanooga and you hit the 3 different time zones in like 2 miles.
Yeah.
You go like Central Time, Eastern Time, Central Time again, back to Eastern Time.
God, that's rough.
Or maybe they'll just play the Floribama and hit 2 states that way.
Yeah.
Not countries, though. Where are they going to go to hit back-to-back countries?
Europe, I
San
guess.
Marco?
Do they count the Vatican as a country?
I don't know.
Mm.
We forgot to ask him the song when we came back.
Oh, he was vibing to it.
Yeah,
Felt like you knew it.
Had a nice little.
So who is it?
I couldn't tell you.
Really?
Do you have a guess? Now, this is one that does fall in the category of multiple bands could sound very similar
Correct.
in this era.
But they're also huge enough that you know them.
I don't think he does know them.
No, well, of course not.
It's
But
not a safe assumption by you at all.
I mean, you, the general you.
That's the part right there that should set him apart. Right there. Actually, the lyrics could help also.
Oh, yeah,
It's
I think
very
so you hear the voice,
unique
right,
lyrics
yeah,
and
yeah.
voice. Yeah.
It's from the 1992 hit Coneheads. That's where this band
That
shot to
doesn't-
prominence.
It doesn't help.
I knew it
at
wouldn't,
all.
but
When the lyrics start, there should literally be no doubt. Okay, if you don't have it now, you're not going to get it. That's not going to help. Actually, that could have helped a little more because there are multiple tones that he goes in and out of. First name Anthony.
last name Pettis.
Not the band, the guy. You don't even have a guess for this.
They
No.
played the Super Bowl.
This is a literal top 10 rock band of all time.
They played a Super Bowl.
Yes. Didn't headline, but they played it.
And you don't have a guess? And you work at a radio station.
You have ears, too.
I have no clue.
Let it go. Let it go. See if he can get it here.
Oh, it runs out in a couple seconds.
Green Day.
Oh, wow.
I have no clue. Who is it?
Whew.
Keep guessing.
I'm just going.
Oh, you just lobbed a grenade that was Green Day. I hope this lands next to a guy and takes him out. I don't really know where he is. Like that was your flashbang into the building. I know he's in the building somewhere. Maybe this will affect him. I have no idea though. He could be on the 3rd floor. Just stop. No, it's not even a good guess.
I'm trying to think of bands that have
not even a decent
played
guess.
the Super Bowl.
Not Justin Timberlake.
Nah, I know that.
Or Shakira.
No.
Or Madonna.
I couldn't tell you. I have no.
They played with Bruno Mars.
They have a top 3 most recognizable guitar player in the history of music. Was that fair?
Yeah.
I would say Slash and the dude from AC/DC, the other two.
Probably, yeah.
To narrow it down, but I have no idea.
It would help some people, maybe.
Who is it?
No,
It's Vertical Horizon.
No, that did not just happen on this show. You should literally be banned from working in radio.
We thought Cole was, kind of digging and trying to go at Bam fan. Like you're just digging at the rock folk.
I have no, like, I have no starting point.
That actually hurt that was your guess there.
The guitarist's name is Flea.
He has performed the national anthem at multiple gigantic sporting events. I believe the NBA Finals 2 years ago. Just Flea, not the whole band, just him.
No clue. Like I have zero clue.
Okay, but we're not telling you. Not telling you. Got to figure it out on your own. We're not telling you. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, you got homework, man.
Garrett Anderson tweets in, now I understand why the old timers say this generation is going to hell. At Run DN6, not knowing them gives me no hope. Jamie Bailey tweets in, Smashing Pumpkins could pull a Kiss and have a 20-year-old farewell tour. Possibly.
1,800 shows, yeah.
Chuck says, Grateful Dead played 2,300 shows over a 30-year span. No way Smashing Pumpkins can pull that off. They can, we just don't know the duration.
Yeah.
They could do it, we just don't know. That's what we were asking. What's the time frame in which they're going to accomplish
somebody
this?
texted me the answer. Would have never guessed.
Oh, what a snitch. All right.
Would have never
guessed.
guessed.
Cheating on the homework.
It's about advance. Yeah,
are you
Hot Chili Peppers, baby.
Are you ashamed of yourself, though?
Not at all.
You should be.
Not at all.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Got a great tweet coming in from Michael Kirby. Get to that in just a moment. Also get to Dick Girardi here in just a moment. Talk Kentucky Derby. But Gusty Goulas is who you need to call if you need real estate in Central Alabama. If you're looking to get into a new home, looking to get out of your home, the Gusty Goulas Group can help. Served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. Over 850 five-star Google reviews. Google them for yourself. Search Gusty Goulas Group. Or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com on your phone right now. You'll see a button at the top of the page. Smash that button. Very little information. They'll tell you what your house is worth to them and what they can probably get for it. 205-542-1996. Brokered by eXp Realty. The Gusty Goulas Group. Here to serve you. They've helped members of my family. They can help yours as well. Call 205-542-1996 or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. Michael Kirby tweets in quickly, Conrad can't change a tire. At Run DM6 doesn't know who the Red Hot Chili Peppers are. Molly is our only hope for the future. And I don't think she's seen Predator. So count her out. We're done.
Well, there's a new one coming out in a couple of weeks.
Not that. That one doesn't count.
Okay.
Okay, Dick Girardi joining us now on the Higginbotham hotline. Dick, for folks who are going to be heading to a Kentucky Derby party this weekend that do not know much about horse racing at all, but they know they're going to be placing a wager, where is sort of the safest place for them to live when this event begins?
Make a win bet on number 8 Journalism, not just because I was in the business for 33 years, but I think he's the best horse, and that's the safest play. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win easy. So there you go. Easy bet. 8 to win.
What has changed about this event, the actual race, who's involved in it most over, let's just say, the last 5 to 10 years?
It's gotten more popular, which is kind of hard to believe, right? It's already one of the most popular sporting events in the country annually. But if you know, and I've been going to Churchill Downs forever. My first one, believe it or not, was 1978. The first one I covered for my paper in Philly was 1987. And back then, the Twin Spires, that's all you saw when you walked into the place. Now it's just dwarfed by all the huge buildings they put up. And the reason they're able to do it is because of the popularity of the event. There'll be more than 100,000 people there today for Oaks Day and 150,000 tomorrow. And they can't charge enough that people aren't willing to pay it. And that's continually changed, even in the last 5 years.
Dick Girardi is joining us thanks to betonline.ag. You can find all the different odds and props on the Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend. And Dick, one that I found interesting was the wagers on horse to finish last in the Kentucky Derby. What would you say is the more difficult pick, to win or to finish last?
Probably last because there's so many variables that go into that. Typically, I like a horse that has early speed that you just think is going to really get tired at the end. You don't want horses that are running from the behind because they're usually going to pass a couple of tired horses in the stretch. So I would recommend horses that typically have early speed. The most logical horse to me to finish last, it's not obvious, but if you think about it, how about Owen Almighty, the 20 horse? He has speed. The trainer really doesn't want to run. The owner made him run. He thinks he's not good enough to run. And I think that's the horse that's most logical to finish last.
Also, there are some props where you can project ahead based on the winner of this race. So you can begin to look at Triple Crown. You can begin to look at Preakness, so on and so forth.
Yep.
After this race is complete and we know who the winner is, what should we take from that as it pertains to the next 2 legs of the Triple Crown?
Yeah, I think you want to see, first, is the winner kind of a fluky winner like Rich Strike was 3 years ago, or is it a horse like Journalism who comes in winning 4 in a row, and then if he wins the race convincingly, then you're really thinking, typically when the really good horses win the Derby, they also come back in 2 weeks and win the Preakness in Baltimore. And one of the cool props that I'm going to recommend here at BetOnline is the winning distance. It's strictly an over-under, like how much does the winning horse win by? And it's a length and a half, and I like the over. I think Journalism is not only going to win, I think he's going to win big. But the good news is if I'm wrong about Journalism, you can still cash the bet because any horse wins, any of the now 19, and we have another scratch, I'll tell you that in a minute. Any of the 19 wins by more than a length and a half. That's still a prop that you would win at BetOnline. We do have 2 scratches. 4 Rodriguez was scratched yesterday, and within the last hour, number 10 Grande was scratched. the vets didn't like something about what was going on with Grande, so they wanted to be safe. So he's not going to run tomorrow.
What aspects of the race change as the field gets smaller?
So yeah, Rodriguez is more interesting of the two scratches because he was an early speed horse. He was going to be out there with the pack, which was going to ensure even a faster pace and less likely that any of those horses would stay around. So that impacts how the race will be run. I don't particularly think Grande was relevant one way or another. He kind of had a middle pack kind of a running style. But yeah, it's still 19 if that's what we end up with, and it's possible we could have a scratch or two before the race tomorrow night at 7. It's still a huge field. It's the biggest. I've always said in the typical horse race never has more than 14, but in the Derby you can have as many as 20. Let's play the Super Bowl with 12 on a side or 13. I've never liked it, but because of the popularity of the race, everybody wants to get in it. They let as many as 20 horses in.
We're visiting with Dick Girardi. He's joining us thanks to betonline.ag, talking Kentucky Derby. Bob Baffert is back, and people will recognize him when they see him on TV. They might not know what he is or what he does or who he is or why he's there, but they will know that he is usually someone that is there. He hasn't been for the last couple of years due to a suspension. How does his return change things for this year's Kentucky Derby?
Well, he's got the 2-year-old champ, Citizen Bull. He did have Rodriguez, but they decided to scratch him yesterday. They just didn't. There was something about it was going on. They think that they can get him back for the Preakness, but he just wasn't going to be ready to run in the Derby. So, look, he's Mr. Triple Crown. He's won more Triple Crown races than any trainer in history. As you said, he's been out for the last 3 years. Citizen Bull he's a fascinating horse. He has the one post, so they're going to send him. They're going to put him in front. It's just a question, can he last, and will he be able to get out there by himself? Is all of his good races or when he's out there clear where there's no other competition? Typically when he has competition, he folds like he did in the Santa Anita Derby, like he did in a race last year at Del Mar. But when he's out there, the 4 times he's been clear early in the race, he's won every time. So you'll know more. It'd be nice if they'd let you bet after the race starts. You got to have a better sense of what's going to happen with Citizen Bull.
I think we would all have a little bit of an advantage there, even though most of us have no idea what we're doing. Is there anything that has changed your opinion? And we obviously know who you like to go win the race, but anything that's changed your opinion about the lead up here, what we've seen? You mentioned a couple of scratches, and obviously the folks going to be there today. That has changed your opinion greatly about either the field or other horses or other wagers that you might place tomorrow?
That's a great question. The one thing that has changed for me, I mean, I always came in liking journalism, and nothing I've seen in the last week has changed my mind. Not workouts, not watching them on the track, not anything. Burnham Square, the 9 horse, I mean, I thought he was a marginal contender off his form, and he's got good form, and he's won some significant races. I thought his workout last weekend was the best of any of the horses coming in. So I moved him way up in my calculations. In fact, guys, if it's an 8-9 exacta, that's journalism over Burnham Square, you'll next hear from me at some island somewhere because I will have a lot of $100 bills in my pocket.
What do you enjoy most about this every year? Like, what aspect of it do you look most forward to?
For me, and I covered it for the Philadelphia Daily News for every year from 1987 to 2017. It was just seeing the people that you see maybe once a year, other writers part of it, but trainers, jockeys, owners of horses, just in the scene. And I could probably vote in Louisville. I've been there so many different times and spent so many weeks there. And just again going back to places you're familiar with. It's a scene, and to see Churchill Downs from, again, when I first went there to what it is now. I mean, talk about a metamorphosis of an American institution. It's unrecognizable from what it was when I first went in 1978 as a fan. But yeah, now, I mean, and look, it's one of those iconic sporting venues in America, like the Rose Bowl and Indianapolis 500. But yeah, Churchill Downs is definitely one of those spots.
And they've just announced some more massive renovations, correct? They're going to take place here in the near future?
Right. They announced it, and then they decided they're going to hold off for a little bit of time, but they're going to do it because the last year they had the brand new paddock, which I don't know if people could see it on television, but it's just an awesome place. But yeah, I think they're going to hold off for a little bit of time. I think they're a little concerned about the economic situation. But look, Churchill Downs Incorporated is a company that They can afford to do just about whatever they want, and they can afford to charge anything for the Derby, and 150,000 people are going to show up and pay for it.
It's wild just to think about kind of what it is and where it's headed and where it's gone so far. It's very similar. It feels like to the Masters in that you would never have thought 10 years ago that the popularity could skyrocket, maybe grow some, but just go to totally different levels that it has. And it feels like the Kentucky Derby's been able to almost match them in popularity the last 8 to 10 years.
I think it's a great analogy, and it's interesting. Last year was Derby 150, and they had that great finish, right, with a 3-horse photo finish. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. Almost identical to what happened to the Masters this year. That was horse racing version of a photo finish.
One thing that we haven't gotten to, and Dick Girardi is with us thanks to betonline.ag. Weather, is it, because we've seen a sloppy track a couple of times last couple of seasons. Is there anything to be concerned about from that perspective?
There is. There's been talk all week about rain. It hasn't happened yet, but it sounds like it has a very good chance of happening today and or tomorrow. The problem with the weather and trying to make sense of it in relation to what's going to happen in the race, very few of these horses have been on a sloppy track or a muddy track. So you're kind of guessing. What I tell people to do in that circumstance, just whatever you liked before it rained, just stay with what you like, because you frankly don't know how it's going to affect the performance of each of the horses.
Yeah, we try that in football a lot. Like when it's going to be rainy or colder, how automatically a different team has a huge advantage, and then rarely it ends up really being
exactly.
So, yeah. Well, Dick, we appreciate the time today. Great talking with you. You educated us because this is not a topic that we know very well, and I know everybody's going to be watching it. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
That's Dick Girardi joining us thanks to betonline.ag, talking a little Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend. Will you watch, John? Is that kind of a must-see for you, must-be on?
Probably not, no.
I will tell you, there was a time when it was for me that I just said the lead up, the build up, I was into it, wanted to watch it, and had to see the actual race. And it's one of those things in my life for just different reasons that I've kind of gone, yeah.
There was a time where once it started, I would watch the race, but all the lead up, all that, I guess I just don't get horse racing, but I know it is an exciting 2-ish whatever minutes, so I can appreciate that and kind of watch. But now it's just like, all right, well, now that I've seen Triple Crowns in my lifetime, it's like, all right, well, I can just check back and see what happens.
He mentioned that journalism, your favorite at 3-1, Sandman's at 17-2, Luxor Cafe 19-2, Burnham Square 10-1. And the horse to finish last right now, your favorite is Render Judgment at 4-1. Also, Flying Mohawk at 5-1. Admire Daytona 6-1 to finish last, as well as Chunk of Gold and Owen Almighty. So, what would you think would be the more difficult wager, finish first or last? Like, let's think of that from a sports perspective. What would be more difficult to pick in the NFL this year? The team with the best record or the worst record? It's kind of tough when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like usually SEC, Big Ten, that's probably not a very difficult.
And you'd have been wrong this year, though, for SEC if you went worse.
Let's do that with conferences in football when we come back. Easier to pick. Best team, worst team heading into this season. We'll do it right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. So I was trying to decipher this tweet that Johnny Brink sent in. Is that real? Toby Keith's horses render judgment? If I'd have seen that before we had Dick Girardi on, I would have asked him. Not sure. Either way. All right, when we look at conferences this upcoming season, it is easier to pick the first place team or the last place team. Now, we know that record and tiebreakers can all come into that, but like when we look at the SEC, you feel better about who's going to finish first or last?
I would say last.
I'd probably say last.
Even then, so who's your definitive last? Mississippi State? With Blake Shapen's healthy all year. And they're confident in the offensive lineman that they brought in. And the defense, like we talked about a little bit earlier with Brian Haydad, is just not the worst ever. What if it's just bad, but not the worst ever? Because I have some reservations about Kentucky.
That's who I was going to say.
And I don't like doing that. I hate doing that because I love what Coach Stoops has done. I love how he runs his program, but that's it. But I do think that's probably an easier assumption to go with one of those two right now than it would be Texas, Georgia, LSU, Bama, Oklahoma. It does feel like it's a little more crowded at the top than the bottom. Okay, so we go Big Ten. You feel better about first place or last place? Exactly.
I still think it's last place.
And where's your definitive wager going to go there? Purdue?
Most likely. I'm going last place with this one and the other one because I feel like there are fewer options.
I think the safer wager in the Big Ten is last place. And
Yeah.
it is Purdue.
Yeah.
I apologize to our guy. I can't remember his name. Is it Chet? Chet Breaking News, who always tweets in about Purdue.
He's a big Purdue guy.
Apologize to him, but I think that's your safe wager there. Because, yes, I love Coach Odom, but they've been gutted in the portal again. And by the way, 2 years ago when they were bad, lost multiple good players to the portal and were worse. So, and now they've lost more. So a 1-11 team on a rebuild did not win a conference game. I think that's probably the safe bet to say they're going to be last. Yeah.
Yeah.
ACC, easier to pick first place or last place?
First.
I think this is maybe the easiest conference we will discuss.
Yeah.
Clemson.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Now, granted, if you'd had said this going into last year, would you have been surprised?
Right.
It's fair. Very fair.
Clemson. Yeah.
It's Clemson. I don't really. Could Miami be in the mix? Yes. Could SMU be there again? Possibly. Syracuse had a really interesting offseason in the portal, but I don't know if I'm just going to say, yeah, they're right there again. Some of your regular characters, though, are not. I don't know if Duke can do what they did again. I don't think Virginia Tech's ready to bounce right back in there. Who knows what North Carolina is going to be? Think about the what are they going to be's in the ACC this year? North Carolina?
They had some other issues.
Wake, Robbie Ashford going to be the starting quarterback? Stanford.
I forgot their name.
Florida State again. I don't.
They got Gus Malzahn.
NC State? Well, they took half of Boston College offense and they're just going to run it down there. I mean, there's a lot of, I just don't know what it's going to look like, what it's going to be. Virginia? Yeah. All right, Big 12. Easier to pick first place or last place? Because I don't think it's easy to sit there and say Oklahoma State's going to be 3-9 again.
No.
Right.
And Arizona had a coaching change, so they went down to 4-8, which if everything stays the same, they would have been in contention to be the best team in the league.
Yeah. But this league is so deep, not the right, but so close to each other that a game and a half feels like it could separate everything.
Which also means that there are going to be new teams that nosedive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to pick first place, and I'd go Iowa State right now.
I'd go with that as opposed to picking the bottom. You think Utah's going to be 2-7 in the league again?
No. And I don't think Colorado's going to be 9-4.
Right.
And I don't, as much as I like the quarterback situation, I don't think Arizona State's going to win 11 games. Now, can Baylor go past 8? Maybe. TCU, 3,000-yard passer coming back. Texas Tech, big offseason in the portal.
Right.
Kleiman's a damn good coach. Kansas got some talent. Cincinnati lost a 1,000-yard rusher. I mean, it's just so much. Like UCF head coaching change. I don't know. Literally do not know. I mean, I think it's easier to say I'll take Iowa State.
Right.
And the super solidified Matt Campbell, the returning starting quarterback who's going to be great with a lot of his offensive line back. Yes, he lost some weapons, but I think they're going to be pretty good. I think you look at that one and say, yeah, I'll take that one. Pac-12, easier to pick first place, last place.
Got choice between two, right?
Yeah. Lee Murphy, Oregon State. Washington State loses John Mateer.
I mean,
it's a literal coin flip.
Are we just going by first and last, like who
it's
wins
just
their game?
It's a literal coin flip.
Who wins their game?
It's
Right.
50-50.
Yeah, I'd go first place.
Yeah, I go Oregon State.
Yeah,
Washington State lost too much. Conference is
including the game last year.
Well, hold on a
conference is
second.
different
Wait a second. See, you're off.
Uh-oh.
You're off, John. You're missing here. Who wins their game?
Mm-hmm.
You mean games.
They do play twice.
It's a 2-game series, isn't it?
Mm.
Oh, boy.
Do forget they play twice.
That tiebreaker is going to be insane.
If they split, do they enact a Pac-12 title game?
They should have had it last year. They're still a conference. They're still recognized.
I don't think you can announce it because if you split, you then have to cancel. Or if one sweeps the series, you have to cancel it.
It's over.
There's no reason to play it. But if you split, then I think you enact conference championship game and just let the television networks salivate over it. You have this game. You can place it anywhere you want on any one of your networks at any time, digital, over-the-air antennas, morning, noon, night,
It's tough.
day of the week. Doesn't matter.
Pac-12 network will come up like Birdman, just rubbing
Yep.
their hands. Okay, all right. I'm
This is what
back.
I've been waiting
Lead
for.
into an NFL game on a Sunday.
Might as well.
Put the word
CBS
out.
takes that thing and says, we're canceling our pregame show. We've got the Pac-12 title game back.
We back up.
Leading into Dolphins-Titans at noon. 9 a.m. kick.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know where to go with that, honestly. I have no idea what either one of those teams is going to look like.
It's a tough conference.
Sun Belt, first or last?
Do we get one last or two since they're split?
No, you get one.
Okay.
Worst record in the league. I mean, because it's like Southern Miss had it last year.
Yeah,
It's pretty
That's
definitive.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say easier to pick first because with the changes these teams are having on their rosters, so many could just go down in a hurry. Like Troy was 4-8, and you lost your tight end to Alabama, you lost your running back, you lost your quarterback. Like it's hard to tell what it's gonna be. South Alabama, you lose your starting quarterback, you won 7. I'll do this. I'll say it's easier to pick first, and I'm gonna probably take Louisiana. Now,
Cajuns.
James Madison could be world beaters. I don't know.
They were to start the season.
Love what ULM and that staff did last year, but you lose 1,000-yard rusher,
Mm-hmm.
Going to Missouri. So American, first or last? It feels safe to say Army or Navy
Right.
because so much is going to be the same. But now we're seeing some of the Army guys in the portal leaving.
Right. Yeah.
Like Georgia's getting an edge rusher that's going to be big time. So even their rosters are changing just a little bit. Memphis loses one of the most productive quarterbacks in school history. So you doubt that Ryan Silverfield is going to have that thing being close to knocking on the door of the best team in the league again. Army, Navy, your safe bet. I would probably go with Tulane.
That's what I was thinking, honestly.
Roll wave.
Feel like it's a safe bet.
And the bottom, you've got a juggling act of Rice, Temple, FAU, Tulsa. I don't think Coach Dilfer's UAB team is going to be towards the bottom again this year, but I don't think they can win it. So we'll see. I tell you, I'll give you a Hail Mary here.
The MAC.
No. From this conference to win it, South Florida. Byron Brown
yeah.
back at quarterback.
Hey, Alex Golish.
That offense is now ready.
Yes, sir.
That could be one you watch and say, okay. In the MAC, was
depends on what day of the week they play.
Gotta go with the easy choice of
Ohio, baby.
Ball is Michigan.
Ball State.
Not Akron.
Michigan. Oh.
Let me just say this.
Akron.
It will be easier to pick the last place team in the MAC than the first place team because
Akron's building it up, baby. This takes time.
No. Kent State.
Oh, they're all.
Oh, yes. They didn't win a game.
0-12.
They didn't win a game.
And were outscored 529 to 167. They have lost 12 straight. I'll take Kent State for the win/loss. Back with more next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Quickly, Seth Palmer wants to add into the Kent State conversation. He tweets, got to add to the Kent State conversation. In case anyone was wondering, they also covered in one game all last year, and it took a miracle for them to cover that one. So, yeah, all-time bad. Let's go back to the Higginbotham hotline. Dean Blandino, rules analyst for the UFL and the NFL on Fox, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Dean, who orders the donuts for you guys every week? Because every time I see you guys in studio, there's a giant box of donuts sitting right there on the counter for you.
It's actually peanut butter M&Ms. That's that's like my guilty pleasure. I got to get a bag to get me through a weekend. So, it's just one of those things.
Nobody's hating on that. They have been a go-to for me at different points in times as well. So I'm not going to hate on that at all. We have seen a couple of coaches this year in the UFL kind of attempt to game you guys on the Super Challenge. I'm just interested in how difficult that is for you sometimes to process when they're either waiting on a number or kind of going back and forth on what the actual penalty it is that they want you to review.
Yeah.
Is that a tough process?
Well, it's been interesting because look, this is the first time in football that at any level where we allow coaches to challenge anything, right? They can challenge. The NFL went through their pass interference back in 2019, didn't really work out. We're letting them challenge anything, any foul, anything they think should have been called. So what we're seeing, which we anticipated, is if there's a big play that goes against you, you're gonna look on the tablet and try to find something. So what we've seen more recently is the head coach will drop the flag as the assistants are looking through. Hey, check, is there a hold? We just gave up a big play on defense. Is there a hold? Is there something? And then the referee comes over and they're like, no, we don't want to challenge. So it's just one of those things we got to work through. We get it from the coach's perspective, but because this is so unique, it's kind of only we've only had a season and a half of this Super Challenge, so we're still kind of working through some of the kinks.
I love it. I think it's incredible, and I've found it very interesting how some of the coaches are finding different advantages in when to use it and how to use it. Like I said, kind of trying to game it a little bit, and sometimes it works out for them. Have you been asked about this for different levels of football? Just kind of your thoughts on it, whether it's the NFL, college, high school, anything else like that?
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot of conversations. I think, look, whenever you open up, there's so much subjectivity when it comes to officiating football and other sports, but in football, right, when you think about holding and you talk about, well, you can call holding on every play and all these things. And so I think going back to my days at the NFL, that was always the concern. Really, you don't want to replace one person's judgment, the on-field official, with another person's judgment, a replay official, because at that point it's still just judgment, and we can debate that all day. But as the technology has gotten better, as the transparency has improved, as everything that's going into these games, I think they'll continue, whether it's college or the NFL, continue to look at it. They're opening up things for the NFL with assisting from replay, and it is getting more into that subjective realm. So I think we're going to see more of it. And I don't know if they'll ever go all in like we have and just open it up to everything, but I think we're going to definitely see more.
How different is your process when you're actually on television than if you were reviewing a game and you weren't on TV? I'm just interested to hear this from you because you do such a great job walking us through everything and helping everybody understand not only what you're looking at, but what they're looking at.
It's less colorful language when I'm on TV, when I'm not on TV. I mean, that's really the bottom line is what it is. Trust me, if I could drop a couple of F-bombs on TV, you would hear a lot of them, but no. I think the biggest thing that we try to do, because we're giving the fans and our viewers a peek into our process, is to verbalize what it is, right? To not just stand there and stare at a screen and think internally. I've got to verbalize. I've got to articulate what I'm going through, so I can give the why, right? And I think that's the thing that has made our process. We really feel like it's been a positive and shown a positive light on officiating, because look, you're still going to disagree. I still get the angry tweets. I still get those things, but at least you understand the why, and there's no secrets. There's no conspiracies. This is what I looked at. This is how I made my decision. Mike Pereira does the same thing, and I think that kind of helps people just understand what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And you do a great job with it. I've always been interested to hear the backstory on this. I do not know exactly how it happened. How did you get here? How did you get to where you are? Obviously, there's a background in officiating, but from the television perspective, how did this all come about?
Yeah, I definitely took a different journey than most people in officiating. I didn't officiate. It wasn't something that I had been exposed to or done at a younger age. Just played sports, loved football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever it was. And I started as an intern at the NFL league office, and they had a couple of internships available, and they offered me one in the officiating department. And I was like, yeah, I want to get my foot in the door. Learned officiating from that process. And then ultimately I was in charge of the officiating department. And then there was an opportunity with Fox Sports. Mike Pereira, my colleague, he really was the first one, kind of the pioneer with the rules analyst position. And Fox, we just started having conversations, and the more I talked to them, the more it made sense. And it's been, since 2017, I've been with Fox Sports, and I've loved every minute.
Do you guys hear the fans booing when you're reviewing? Because it's one of the things I always find entertaining, that when you start talking about something and they can tell you're leaning a certain way, it's going to go against the home crowd, they immediately get mad at you.
It's so cool because I'm aware of, some people, say, well, you get kind of tunnel vision. I try to open up. I'm aware of everything. Because I'm listening for you guys on the broadcast. I'm listening for, the officials may jump on our communication and say something. And you can hear the fans, especially if we're in St. Louis and I'm kind of talking through and it's not looking good for the Battlehawks, you definitely start to hear the grumbling, which is it's actually pretty funny. I try to give you a little heads up sometimes when I'm doing coaches. He's got his hand on the flag. He's considering the flag. Yeah. I try to at least get it out there so you can start to say, okay, it looks like this is going to happen now. No, we love that. We love that. We know that anytime there's a big play and the coach still has the challenge. I'm always looking for, okay, let's see. Let's get to the all 22 and see if there's anything that they might challenge, and that's kind of. And it always helps to kind of get that heads up. Help clarify for our listeners, our viewers of the UFL, which you get going tonight on Fox, Renegades at Battlehawks. That's a 7 p.m. kick. And then Saturday morning, Showboats, Roughnecks on ABC at 11. Sunday, 11 a.m. ESPN, Defenders, Panthers. I'll be on that game. And then Sunday following that on Fox, Brahma Stallions. What's the difficulty of not being there? Maybe some of the communication that you have with the officials on the field, because they're listening to you. You guys don't really see each other. You might see things very differently than they did. Where does it become really difficult with some of the back and forth? Sure. I think one of the challenges with not being there physically is just not being able to, see the entire field from your own perspective, right? We have a continuous feed that we call it the all 29 because it shows not just all 22 players, it shows all 7 officials, and it just shows the entire field, and it never stops. So it's kind of like you're there, and you can always watch where if there's a tight play at the sideline and the offense is rushing to the line, you can look and see, okay, how long do you have before they're going to snap the football to stop the game and look at it. So it is, in a way, it's good because you're kind of removed from the emotion and the environment of it. But then on the flip side, the emotion and the environment are part of the cool thing, and that kind of keeps you focused and keeps you in the game. So it's just kind of a balance. And certainly with the communication, we have great communication with our on-field officials where, wherever you are, you're always able to communicate with them. So from that standpoint, it's pretty good. Can you clarify for our viewers that are going to be watching this weekend when you can actually go see something and overturn it on your own, not a coach throwing the red flag or anything of that nature? Like, what are the guidelines of when you're able to step in and say, nope, we need to turn this over. We need to review this. This is not going to stay. For us in the command center, anything that is reviewable, and think just whatever college, NFL, traditional reviewable aspects of a play, right? Anything involving the goal line, anything involving a catch, no catch situation, first downs, fumble down by contact. That's the command center. That's under our jurisdiction. Anything involving player safety throughout the game, if there's a big hit on the quarterback and the officials don't throw a flag and we see that, he hit him in the head neck area, that should have been roughing the passer, we can communicate that and assist the on-field officials with that. And then really anything in the last 5 minutes, if it's obvious and it's going to have a significant impact on the outcome of the game, think, Rams, Saints, NFC Championship back in 2018, that level of, oh my God, this is wrong, we got to fix this. So we've got a lot of controls in place to to kind of make sure that officiating isn't the issue. And then, of course, the coaches have the challenge for everything else. So we feel like we've got it covered.
Dean, we appreciate you, man. Just coming on, trying to clarify a few different things. We love what you do for football in general, not just the UFL, but the UFL stuff's awesome because you give that clarity, you give that behind the scenes, and I think it teaches people the game because I've told people all along the hardest part for me when I went and officiated a spring game that I never knew existed was the process. And there was a pass interference. I was a side judge. There was a pass interference that probably should have been called. And the official I was working with, he came over and he's like, not going to throw the flag there? And I was like, well, no. He said, what were you watching? I was like, well, I watched the guy throw the ball. I was like, you told me. I was like, sideline, I watched for offsides. I go left tackle, running back, quarterback. And he was like, yeah, if you're watching the ball, you can't see the receiver in the corner. I was like, oh, man, you're right. Maybe I don't know if I should have thrown it because I didn't see it. So that process is very difficult to maintain on a consistent basis.
No question. And that's the thing. You look at it a different way. That's right. When we all watch football, right, we watch the ball. But like you said, like that guy told you, if you're watching the ball, you can't see what the receiver and the defender are doing. And I think that's kind of, we're trying to give people that perspective and a new lens to look through for the game. So, we think it's something that makes the UFL unique.
Dean Blandino, thanks for hopping on with us. We always appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll catch up with you this weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cole.
Dean Blandino, a rules analyst for Fox, both UFL, NFL. He's fun to watch, man. He makes the game more enjoyable because, like I said, I think you learn the game when you hear him go through his process of, is he going to have a call stand or is he going to turn it over? So I wanted to catch up with him ahead of this weekend's UFL action, which, of course, is going to be fun. And like I said, Sunday morning, ESPN, 11 a.m., we will be on with DC, best record in the league, at Michigan, who looks like now Michigan has found their quarterback. If you're looking to find better sleep, if you're looking to find a way to just feel better each and every day, if you're feeling on edge, if you have low energy, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. This is what you do right now. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, sign up for their free consultation. With that, you get a free testosterone test, free PSA test. They also have options for weight loss. They have different peptide solutions that can help your skin look better, anti-aging, weight loss, better sleep. They can help you with all those different things. And it's a very cool locker room environment. They're not going to try to pressure you into things that you don't need, that you don't want. Holistic approach to health and wellness. So if you need to feel better or just want to know what might be wrong with you, it's free when you do it at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go there now, sign up for that free consultation, get the free PSA and testosterone test and see what they can do for you with a minimal upfront cost for the programs they offer, and save 10% when you mention Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go sign up today. All right, we'll wrap it up when we come back next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:48, Friday, May the 2nd, right here on Jocks 94.5. We've talked music taste or maybe lack of,
that's
for
more
Damian
appropriate,
Mitchell, which has not happened. Speaking of the UFL, San Antonio Brahmas have signed defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs, former Steelers draft pick, former Alabama defensive lineman. So he'll be joining the UFL to go play there and be a part of that team. I did want to run through some guys in the portal quickly before we get to our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the week. Basketball. South Carolina gets UC San Diego forward Norden Kopich. Texas gets St. John's guard Simon Wilder. Texas A&M gets Texas center Jamie Vinson. We okay with that?
Different age.
I feel like the rivalry back and forth are much more prominent in basketball than football.
And accepted.
Florida's going to get Ohio guard A.J. Brown, not the wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
UNLV gets Nas Cunningham from Alabama. Tennessee gets guard Amari Abram, who has been at Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, and Louisiana Tech.
Oh, that's three. Okay.
All right.
Darion Reed, McDonald's All-American, 6'8" from Alabama, is going to go to Oklahoma. And Illinois gets small forward Andres Stojakovic.
Is that Paige's son?
It is Paige's son. He has been at Stanford.
Okay.
That's one.
Cal.
Okay.
Two.
And now Illinois.
Okay. Oh, finally want to get away from home.
Right.
Okay.
That's a lot different.
I mean, but
Hey.
you're seeing more and more of the guys that have been 2, 3, 4 places.
Yeah. And less taxes away from California.
I'm sure that's why he did it. I bet that's it. You want to try football? We don't have to.
I don't think I'm afraid to.
I thought it was closed.
It is, but these are just some that have come down over the last couple of days. By the way, it's not closed to if you are in, commit somewhere else.
Okay.
It's just closed to go in.
One-way portal.
South Carolina gets edge defender George Wilson, who has been at Florida State, and Campbell. They also had one of their quarterbacks go into the portal, and they get Georgia State defensive lineman Trey Pikes, 6'3", 290, 13 tackles, half a tackle for loss last year. They need bodies in certain spots, guys. They need bodies. Ohio State running back T.C. Caffey is in the portal. Georgia State is going to get former Georgia running back Branson Robinson. Tennessee is going to get Grand Valley State defensive lineman Josh Shell. Haven't seen the tape.
It's a bit of a trek.
He had 3 tackles for loss last year and 2 sacks.
Okay.
Also, DB Jacoby Thomas is in. Savannah State is getting from Nebraska, Georgia, and LSU.
No.
Tight end
Eric
Gilbert.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Not a boy.
Shaq out there making things work.
I thought he was.
Not Sacramento State.
Oh.
Savannah State.
Savannah State.
Oh, the other one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I know he
states.
still had eligibility.
I didn't know they had a team.
Oh, it's Shannon Sharp. Savannah State.
Okay, well, I don't think he can help right now.
That was South Carolina State.
Yeah, that too.
Jacksonville State offensive tackle Will Osteen has committed to North Carolina.
Joel's son?
That's Joel's son?
Yeah.
That's a family affair. Hey.
Look at God.
I
All
don't
right.
know. Nebraska gets tight end Ian Flint. Tight end Ian Flint is in the portal. Mississippi State got offensive tackle Zachariah Owens from Clemson, Colorado. We need to keep going.
If there's more, people got to know.
I got a lot more. We're not even close to being done here. Colorado cornerback Colton Hood, formerly of Auburn, is in the portal. They also got FSU wide receiver Nykeem Williams. LSU gets defensive lineman Dylan Battle going into the portal, and UCF defensive tackle Bernard Gooden out of the portal, who was also at Wake before he was at USF. Ole Miss gets ULM safety Wydett Williams Jr. By the way, 100 tackles last year, 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles.
Okay.
And quarterback Pierce Clarkson is in the portal, formerly of Louisville, there at Ole Miss. Texas A&M tight end Eric Kerner is in, former 4-star. And finally, I'll wrap it up with this, even though there's a lot more. From Western Kentucky, Texas State, Tulane,
Hold up.
Auburn,
Hold up.
and LSU.
TJ Finley
is in the portal.
Oh,
Tulane, Western Kentucky, Texas State, Auburn, LSU. The new one's going to be 6.
Okay.
That's got to be. I don't know a kid that's played at 6 schools.
no, he's the first.
I don't think we've had that yet.
He's the first.
All right, let's get to our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend. For me, it's easy. The 4-1 DC Defenders on Sunday travel to Ford Field and the Michigan Panthers, who now have one quarterback. It's not going to be a 2-quarterback system anymore. Michigan, a 2.5-point favorite at home against the 4-1 DC Defenders with Jordan Tayama playing great football, offensive line playing better football. Head coach left before the season, D coordinator left in season, but they still got Frank Heist running the show on the offense. Should be a fun game. DC at Michigan, 11 a.m. Sunday on ESPN.
I'm going UFL as well. If you can't find yourself in Protective Stadium on Sunday at 3 p.m., just tune in to
I'll be in
Fox.
Detroit, so you're
not going to be able to make it.
No.
You're not going to be able to make it.
Mm-mm.
So at 3 p.m., you need to turn your – well, actually, yeah. I know it's the Ops, but they're on Fox. The Birmingham Stallions take on the San Antonio Brahmas. Who are they going to start at quarterback? I am very interested to see. With that game, 3 p.m. on Fox, Birmingham Stallions and the San Antonio Brahmas. That is my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend.
And for me, it's a game 7. You're getting Clippers and Nuggets.
Are you?
It's game 7.
They say you are, but I don't really. I mean, does anybody really know?
I mean, I don't know who's fully playing in it, but I know I'm getting a game 7. But you've got two teams that have been playing rather close basketball these last little bits. And
What's your favorite matchup you're most looking forward to in that game 7?
Me and Sleep. Because it's 6:30, so at least I won't have to fight it this time, because otherwise it has been late. But Clippers Nuggets Saturday night, 6:30 TNT is my Super Sofa game of the weekend. You can get that Super Sofa or anything for the home at TD's Fine Furniture. Check out their spring clearance sale going on now. Markdowns up to 30% throughout the store, including their Flex Steel home store. You can pick it up today or have it delivered. That's TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
Who's the key for the Clippers to slow down Jokic?
Well, he's not going to be able to slow him down.
And some off the bench?
Yeah.
James Harden going to hit his shots. That's what matters.
Okay. By the way, I did not think that benching of Kellen Mond was warranted last Sunday. He was not playing great, but I don't think that the things that were happening were as much on him for him to be put on the bench.
Fair. It's coach's decision.
It was. And now we'll see where it goes from here. Like you said, for San Antonio, Matt Corral looks like he's going to miss a little more time than originally thought for the Stallions.
Oh, boy.
So there are a lot of quarterback concerns happening in the UFL, not in Detroit on Sunday at 11 a.m. on ESPN, though. We're back Monday. 3-Man Front is next.